Peace, welcome back. We have changed orientation in order to be able to have you be able to see the cards. This is pile 1, and I'm going to also just assign you a little crystal for the month to come. That is a little surprise that I have for all of you, and I wanted to just shuffle these and give you guys a little surprise. I was gonna use my I was gonna do bibliomancy with my book of stones, but I decided to not do that. So yeah, diamond, shine your brightest. That is your card pile 1. That's your crystal. Shine bright like a diamond. That is a song that we had been channeling a lot. I really recommend going and checking out my my archived lives on my Aetherium Instagram. Shine your brightest. You gotta start shining your brightest, babes. What we need to know: Anna, grandmother of Jesus, seeding the light, laying foundations, divine plan. This is from the Rebecca Campbell Work Your Light Oracle. This deck I got in London, and it has really changed my life. Seeding the light, laying foundations, divine plan. You might want to read along. Anna, grandmother of Jesus, was an ancient mystic who dedicated her life to laying the foundations for Christ consciousness to be woven through all of life. She's not widely known, but without her, Christ consciousness would not be rising as it is today. Anna represents the quiet dedication that is sometimes required to live a life of service. She represents the generations that came before that devoted their lives to dreaming a new world into being, while knowing that they would not see the glorious end result. She represents the dutiful soldier, the unconditional mother, and the mystic who can see the thread that is woven through all of life. This is giving big Saturn energy. Anna teaches us that we all have a part to play in the divine plan. You might be a sentinel who is here to maintain divine order. You are a soldier here to bring order back and balance back into the universe. And the mystic who can see the thread that is woven through all life. Anna teaches us that we all have a part to play in the divine plan. It doesn't have to be on the world stage to be significant. One person's part is not worthier than another. One person's part may be to mother their children. Another's may be to gather women in circle each month. No part is better or worse, more important or less significant. We each have within us a seed of light that we incarnated to share. Anna is gathering us all to remember to surrender our part of the plan. I think that we really talked about that a lot. Work your light activation. Hold a card on your heart and say, "Beloved Anna, thank you for laying the foundations for the divine plan. May the seeds of light within me be revealed, and may I surrender to my part of the divine plan." So what you need to know is that yeah, I think that you might be doubting yourself. You might be doubting like your mission, your calling. Other people may also have like been putting ideas in your head. You might be doubting yourself because it's like, why are all these terrible things happening to me? Like, how much more of this can I take? And you know, you don't have to take it all on your own. You don't have to like go through this process and experience all on your own. You're not alone. Like, you can ask for help. You can ask for help, and you should. None of us can do this alone. And sometimes what I'm picking up is like a need to be more humble and to ask for help from trusted individuals in your community. I do feel like you have a community that understands you, and that if you're willing to extend a little bit more trust to your community, then that is a lot of what you'll be able to get back from your community. But if you never give them the opportunity to support you, how are they going to be able to support you? You know what I mean? You are someone, you might be someone who just identifies as being very, very ancient. You might feel worn. Bilbo says this to Gandalf before he goes off on the trip that eventually like takes him to Rivendell in the Fellowship of the Rings. And he says, I may not look it, but I feel old. Wait, I feel old. I may not look it, but I am, I think he says. And he says, I feel worn out, like butter spread too thin over toast. That is from the book and also from the films. I know I'm not saying it exactly right, but that's how you feel. It's just like, I don't have it in me to do much more. Like, I've done so much. I've done lifetimes of work in one lifetime and also in all these other lifetimes. And I just want you to know you can tap into the universal energy to imbibe you and strengthen you and revivify you. And also, you don't have to do so much. Like I said, just being our authentic self, like, look, like I said, shine your brightest. Just being your authentic self is actually all that you need to do. You don't actually owe anyone anything. Like, just be the best you that you can be. And you know what that is because you'll know it when you feel it. It's not about what other people say or think that it is. It's between you and your higher power, you and your higher self, and also you and your lower self, because like, you do need to honor that lower self. Because that lower self is the self that got you here. And also that lower self is ready to be put to rest. So the longer that you belabor that lower self, I'm seeing that Lilith at 4 degrees of Libra in the 6th house. The longer that you belabor that lower self and stick in those low density, like very dense behaviors, low vibrational behaviors and ways of thinking, when you know better, you have a higher consciousness, the longer that you're going to be stuck in those high density places that make it hard for you to move, make it hard for you to manifest, you know, make it just like hard for you to feel like you are able to be yourself. And you might feel like you are vindicated in acting that way, or like you are justified in perpetuating negativity and harm because you are like, well, I've been victimized. But it takes two to tango. And if you didn't listen to the original channeling and you just skipped to the card reading, I really suggest that you go back and listen to that, because I talk about that, like why that's not okay, because that you're just perpetuating these cycles of abuse. When is it going to stop? You can't control anybody else. All you can control is yourself. Anna, grandmother of Jesus. This is saying like, I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I know that I want to contribute something good to it. I know that like all of the work that I'm doing, I might not be alive to see it, but I know that at the very least, I can rest easy knowing that I contributed my part, you know? I know there's a lot of feminine rage here. There's a lot of feminine rage here, betrayal here. But listen, there's a higher perspective to approach this from, and that is this understanding, like I said, like nobody, okay. Mundanes are just used as sources of energy, but they're not necessarily special targets. Okay, if you are a very high vibrational, highly powerful being, really, and you have a very sacred and important mission, of course you're going to get attacked a lot. And yes, you will experience some of the worst kinds of things that you can imagine. I understand personally. I'm not just saying this as some sort of abstraction. I know personally what that's like. And it doesn't really help all that much when somebody's like, oh, well, you know, at least it means that you're really powerful. And it's like, yeah, well, sometimes you just feel like I would rather not be powerful, actually. If this is the expense of power, I would rather not be. But I actually think that thinking about it as like, first of all, the fact that they have to get together in groups to do this kind of stuff, or they have to constantly do this, they feel like they have to antagonize you and target you, means that they are weaker than you, which means anything that they do, you can counteract, and you can ground and neutralize and nullify, neutralize, ground, and void. Okay, you can call back all of your energy. You can block their energy. And you know, if you have a certain level of authority, there are things that you can do to keep them from causing harm anymore. But your energy is needed here. You have a job to do. And it's coming to an end. You've done it. Now it's time to seed the light in the material world. Everything that you've been waiting for is about to take off at lightning speed, okay? So don't think that like it's all been for nothing. You and I both know that it hasn't been. Trust and believe every single day. I'm just like, how many more days until the portal? How many more days until the portal? Because I know that everything is about to change. Like, if you've been following along, or maybe you've heard this a lot, like we're moving at a quantum leaping, moving at lightning speed, If that's true for you, then when we hit this portal, this is gonna be like a whole new world. Don't you dare close your eyes. I fear that white truffle chip from the mukbang portion may have had dairy in it, because I know that it didn't, but it's definitely like activating my my reaction that I have when I have dairy, which is like my throat gets super phlegmatic. So I'm going to have some oil of oregano. And I would recommend to you all to do whatever you do in your practice to help you with like sore throat or like too much mucus in your throat or anything like that, because there's a lot of throat chakra healing that is going on, and it's just becoming unbearable right now. I think that you actually need to express like the things that you haven't been expressing, like I said earlier in this whole thing. You have a lot on your chest and a lot stuck in your throat. And it's being pushed out now. So I definitely recommend to you to, you know, harmonize as well, like just humming, so that you can clear the energy that is disharmonious or trapped in your throat chakra. Focus your direct your focus to your throat chakra and just like hum and allow the hum to go where it goes, like whatever way it goes, just let it do that, and the frequencies will align themselves, okay? What we're letting go, oops, nope, that's not right. What we are letting go, apocalypse in reverse. I think that you are actually like letting go of catastrophic thinking, and also because it's apocalypse in reverse, I feel like it's a lot of fear of admitting how bad things actually are, and that's actually been holding you back from being able to actually come into the life that you're supposed to be living. You know what I mean? Like, it's not good for you to hold on to all of this stuff. It's actually really bad for you, and we know like it affects our physical health. For too long, the people in your bloodline have been holding on to trauma and, like I said, perpetuating it, and it needs to end with you. Okay? It needs to end with you. It is as bad, and the sooner that you recognize the gravity of the things that you've experienced and that have been handed down from generation to generation, the sooner that you can let it go, the sooner that you can heal from it. You know? I'm just gonna turn them all over because I am annoying myself. Okay. I just let you. Okay, I decided to go ahead and turn them all over. So what is coming in is the Hierophant in reverse. It is your liberation. It is your freedom from the ties that bind. Yeah, this is like all of the ways, all of the veils are like canceling and they're being removed, and freedom from the dominant hegemony is what's coming in, and you are gonna feel like, wow, like I never knew that I could feel this free. You know, I think that also, like, you have to realize that, like, as long as you hold on to this stuff, you still have it. If you want to actually be free, pretending that it's not there isn't actually effective. Just getting rid of it is actually the most effective. So how can we be of service to these changes? You have to do the heart chakra healing. And people think about forgiveness as in like, oh, it's okay what you did. Like, I forgive you. No, it's not okay. It's not okay. But I do think that equanimity and empathy are important. It's like, I understand that this person went through these things and that's why they are the way that they are. But that doesn't matter to me. Like, that doesn't make it okay. And in fact, like, the idea of just saying, like, that's why they are the way that they are. Well, how are they? Are they abusive? Are they disrespectful? Are they inconsiderate? Are they, like, harmful? You know what I mean? Like, if that is the case, then say that. Because you have to be able to call it what it is so that you can effectively know how to deal with it. You know what I mean? If it's somebody, like, their traits are causing you harm, you have to be able to say that. And so then you can be like, I understand why they are the way that they are. I get it, but I'm not going to engage with that, period. You know what I mean? Because the same way that I could be like, oh, this person is like so compassionate and understanding. They really like know so much about this and that. And all of these other, like, you know, they're so trauma informed. They're such a great communicator. They're so helpful. And it's because, like, they went through all of this stuff in their past and they used all of that to, like, make themselves a better person. You know what I mean? Like, that's a whole different thing, right? There has to be accountability for people choosing how to use what they inherited in a harmful way, because they didn't have to do that. And we have to give credit where it's due, whether that credit is bad or good, you know? So I feel like how we can be of service to these changes is just, I'm not going to say forgiveness, but I am going to say acceptance and acknowledgement so you can actually move forward with clarity. It's not necessarily forgiveness. I think that is just a really convoluted word. And I think that, like, it is loaded in a way that I think is not helpful. So we're gonna search for the definition. To forgive, stop feeling angry or resentful towards someone for an offense, flaw, or mistake. Exactly. Okay, so we don't have to carry around feeling angry or resentful. It can also mean to cancel a debt. No, they're still in debt. That's not even up to you, really. That's up to Saturn. That's up to the Akashic records. That's up to the universe. You have no control over that. Okay? But you can choose to stop being angry, and you can choose to let go of your resentment. That doesn't mean that it's okay or that they're getting away with anything, because they're not. But it does mean that you're no longer carrying the burden of their actions that they've tried to force onto you. Okay? Because I feel like, honestly, I'm not trying to walk around being angry at anybody. You know what? I know where I stand with this. I had somebody in my life who just, like, was really just not good to me our entire relationship. And I feel like, you know, I understand why they are the way that they are, but that doesn't mean it's okay. And for a while I was really mad about it, but I have been separated from this person since last March, and you know, I moved away from where I was because they were like walking past my house in a fucking disguise. You know what I mean? Like, because they are obsessed with me and feel like they are entitled to my energy. So like, I literally saw them walk past my house wearing a disguise. And it was just so fucking weird and crazy. And that was a big part of why I moved away from that area. Now they can't do things like that. They don't know anything about me. But yeah, back at that time when I knew, and it wasn't just one time, it was like every few months they would like purposefully come, like walk past my house to try and get a glimpse of me or whatever. And yeah, I don't have to deal with that anymore. So I'm no longer angry about it, but I make no mistake that they are like messed up and deeply, deeply unwell. And I don't want anything to do with them, you know? That's not going to change based on the fact that I'm no longer angry about it. I just think I've transmuted my feelings towards them, but it doesn't change the facts of the matter, which is that they're a fucking weirdo. Interesting to note is that in the reverse of like 1, 2, 3, what's coming in, we have the Hierophant in reverse, and then in blessings we have the Hierophant in the direct position, because I feel like self-sovereignty is what's coming in. As long as you still have like feelings, it doesn't matter if it's good feelings or bad feelings, if I'm being honest with you. As long as you still have feelings about this situation, this relationship, whatever, what have you, as long as you still have that, you haven't done the shadow work and removed that energy that is controlling you, you're not going to be able to be self-sovereign in that capacity. So if you are 90% self-sovereign, great for you. That's fucking amazing. But that other 10% they still have, you know, because it's not either or. If you're 50-50, even if you get to like 60%, you are more sovereign than not, but you still need to be doing work to cultivate your sovereignty, okay? Because it's a spectrum. It's a spectrum. Life is spectral. It's not black or white. It's not either or, and we don't live in binary opposition within the Aetherium, okay? So with the Hierophant here, I feel like you are coming into self-sovereignty, and I'm really, really excited for you, and I'm really, really happy for you, because it means that like you're finally accepting things for as they are, and also accepting that like that is that's in the social world, but that's not real. You know what I mean? Like the idea of scarcity is one that we've been indoctrinated into, but in reality, there's no scarcity. That is something that has been created. If you actually understand the economic system of capitalism, the idea is that we create scarcity. You create the idea of scarcity. To understand capitalism or economy at all, you have to understand that it is something that is created. You have to create desire for your product by making people feel that they are at a deficit without it. This is understanding marketing. You know what I mean? How do I make these people feel like they need what I want, what I have? But you're coming into this understanding, this higher vibrational consciousness is what you're coming into. And this grand trine that we have between Uranus at 27 degrees of Taurus in the first house, the moon at 25 degrees of Virgo in the 5th house, and Pluto at 0 degrees of Aquarius in the 10th house. But it's also, 0 is also considered 30 degrees of the preceding sign. So that's 30 degrees of Capricorn in the 9th house. So we can think about this as a grand earth trine. that is being dissected by, or intersected rather, by the moon in opposition to both Saturn retrograde and Neptune retrograde in Pisces in the 11th house. So we have Saturn retrograde at 18 degrees, which boils down to 9 in numerology, and Neptune retrograde at 29 degrees, which boils down to 2 in numerology. So that all just comes down to 2. And this is getting us to a space of, this is all getting us to a space of equilibrium, so that we, that's all that Spirit wants to communicate. Past life activation. I feel like if you have been burdened by, like, you may have felt all your life like you have a veil over you, like you know that there's more that you're not seeing. And that higher consciousness that you have been waiting for is finally able to activate on the planet, and you're coming into it, and you will then be able to remember past lives that you have not been able to remember. Divine talents and orbs of light. Yeah, lean into those talents, lean into that authenticity, okay? And you are going to be seeing a lot of orbs more as you progress. And we have Master Hilarion and Archangel Raphael. You're going to be seeing a lot more orbs of light. Their spirits protecting you, okay? Lean into the truth of who you are. Lean into your authenticity. Stop being afraid of your hard feelings. Stop being afraid. Stop allowing shame to control you. If you're ashamed of your feelings because you feel like you can't be angry, or you can't be sad, or you can't feel afraid for whatever reason, you're denying your humanity and you are keeping yourself from progressing. Allow yourself to feel it so that it can just flow through you. If you stand outside of it forever, it's always going to be a looming threat. But the sooner that you just walk through the feelings, the sooner that you get to the other side of them. You know what I mean? Just allow yourself to feel those feelings. I know that that's not encouraged in the dominant hegemony, but like we said, the dominant hegemony is dysfunctional and it is stupid. It doesn't work. So we're not stupid. We're not dysfunctional. We are pursuing wellness, we are getting well adjusted, and we are always adjusting to wellness. So that's all I have for you. I love you all truly and deeply. I hope that you will consider liking, subscribing, and sharing. If this resonated with you, I would really appreciate if you can put a dove and or a rainbow and or a star in the comment section, especially for my pile ones. I love if you can drop that in the comment section. Okay, I'm wishing you all the best with these energies, and I will see you on the flip side. Peace, family. Welcome to pile 2. I'm still eating the 𝗪𝗪𝘁 potato chips because I'm super hungry. I've been working on this all day. And I went to take a break and see my friend perform, which was super cute. But I danced the whole time and I sweat so much, and completely forgot that pretty much all I ate today was chips and 2 pieces of super lemon candy. So even though they're not my favorite, I'm back to eating them. They're not that bad. They're just okay. What? I'm not a fan of just okay. I am someone who strives for excellence in all that I do, including the chips that I eat. So we're gonna start, actually, I have a little surprise. We're gonna start off with a crystal for you. And the great thing about crystals I downloaded is that, like, you don't actually have to have the crystal because we are crystalline beings and we are part of the earth. You can just channel the energy of that crystal or call in that crystal collective. You may have, you may recall during the declarations of sovereignty, I called in certain crystal collectives, and you can do that and call that energy in for yourself. So amber, recharge your good vibes, but also at the bottom of the deck we have muscovite, which is develop your foresight. Amber, muscovite. They are some stones to consider of way ancient origin. Amber, I was gonna say that. Amber, armchair paleontologists love the dinosaur era bugs, aka inclusions, sometimes caught inside of them. I was thinking about that. Like in Jurassic Park, they take the DNA of a dinosaur out of a mosquito that is caught in some amber, and that's what they use to create the dinosaurs. So that might have some resonance of some sort to you. Who needs it? Tree people, old souls, anyone gearing up for a long dark winter. And as I'm filming this, we are getting towards the end of summer. We just passed Lughnasadh, I think is how it is pronounced, because L-U-G-H, that god is pronounced Lu. But honestly, I'm not super great at reading Celtic, so I only know some things, so I don't know exactly how to say that, but we just passed that day. So we are actually preparing for a long, dark winter, I believe. It also might be a long, warm winter, which is also a little bit disturbing. When you need a metaphysical hug from the universe, I feel like you are somebody who may have, especially with develop your foresight, who needs it, the pragmatic, empirical, and reasonable. Anyone who has ever asked themselves, how did I not see that coming? I think you might be somebody who is recovering from a long dark night of the soul, actually. And I think that it would be helpful for you to do more things that bring joy into your life. Yeah, just do things that make you feel golden. Do things that make you feel like really excited. And in pile one, the surprise crystal was diamond, and I think that it's interesting that this is giving me like gold vibes. I think that the more that you tune into the frequency of joy and rejuvenation and just like fill yourself up more, you're going to be able to conduct this electricity that is like coming into you through these light codes a lot better. And I do think that you will find that you are much more able to co-create than perhaps ever before. So I think that that is something worth noting. Muscovite is for explorers of the supernatural and synchronistic. So you also might be in a point in time where you're like beginning again with your practice and just like investing in like learning new things. So yeah, I would say I've been picking up a lot lately about like getting into hobbies. And this is a way in which we can divest from capitalism, divest from productivity culture, and essentially, you know, I don't mean like SI, but I do mean like running ourselves ragged to the point where we're destroying our health in order to like not even make ends meet, you know what I mean? So I think that like investing more into like what you actually want, investing more energy, time, resources, liquid resources, that means like cash money, into what it is you actually want, is going to bring more of that into your life, because it has no choice but to be magnetized to you. And when I said that, I thought about the episode of Always Sunny where they're at like laser tag. I think they're on season 16 right now, so I think this might be season 14. But Dennis is like trying to control everybody else. He turns off Frank's like laser pack so that like Frank can't actually be shot, and Frank is not actually playing, and he thinks that he is, but he's not really. And he makes D, like, he's obviously manipulating D and what is his name, Mac, and then he's forcing Charlie to like stay with him over by their like pad, where like if that pad gets shot by the other team, they win. And so he just has this like extremely calculating way of going about the laser tag. And it's like, obviously laser tag is for kids, and it's for, I mean, the young at heart as well. But ultimately, laser tag is supposed to just be about like having fun, and I guess like getting active and like imagination games, you know. But he makes it like so serious, like it's some sort of a big deal, because he wants to get the oh God, what is it called? Something bucks. 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗂𝗪. He wants to get like the laser tag bucks basically, so that like they can buy stuff. And it's like, obviously the Rutherford, like the bucks can't work outside of the laser tag place. And yeah, so they have no real value actually. And he's doing all this calculating shit to win a game against children. Meanwhile, they're in their 40s. And so why this is coming up, because at one point he says, crazy, what are those bucks called? I can't remember, but he's like, Rutherford be crazy. And then he's like, dollar bills. We want them dollar bills. And he keeps saying it like that. And I like was thinking about like how he keeps saying it like that. But this is actually, I think, relevant, because I do feel like you might be somebody who has been like going through this long dark night of the soul, working your buns off. This may have been your whole life actually, and it may just be like you're really tired of it because you've been getting hit from all sides. But like, you've been working your buns off and not getting like proper compensation back, and you're just like burnt out maybe. Or you might be going through a period of being like burnt out because like you've been working so hard in the material world, in the social paradigm, and you need to like come back and remember like what is real. You know what I mean? Like, you are real, your spirit is real, your feelings are real. So, you know, for that imaginary paycheck, guess what? Sometimes you work for something and they don't even pay you what they said that they were gonna pay you. That happens all the time. Okay? So like, what really matters, like, yes, it is important for you to like actually, excuse me, it is important for you to actually like get back what you put in, obviously. It is important for us to like have our material needs met, of course, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. But it's also really important for us to understand that if we're getting back what we put out and we're not getting it from this fake made up system, like what we're really generating is exhaustion and tension and frustration. And so we really can't be that surprised when that is what keeps on coming back to us, because that is the energy that we are emitting. And this is an electromagnetic field. So because that's the electric, the expressional energy that we are emitting from ourselves, that's what we magnetize back to ourselves. And so this is why I feel like it's right now, like really, and being encouraged to get into like hobbies, especially things that you used to do as a kid, because it's important for us to put that energy into the universe so that we are magnetizing more of that. And you have no idea like what a huge role that can play in like recalibrating your energy field, which is just, I feel it has a lot of holes in it. It has a lot of holes in it. It's like very low vibrational, not like, see, quantum leaping, not like this. This is actually like a really big deal. And this is something that I would really, really encourage you to do, because I do feel like it will help you timeline jump where you may have been feeling stuck. Like I would not, ew. There's just been this fly that's been around, and whenever I see a fly, I'm just like monitoring spirits, surveillance. But yeah, so if you're just like expecting the worst, like a lot of that kind of energy is what's going to be coming back to you. So you need to shift your energy and put out like better energy, and it's going to come back to you as well. And you don't even like, you're going to realize what a difference it plays when you like invest this kind of energy into your life. Like it'll show up in your relationships. It'll show up in the way that you sleep, the way that you eat, the way that you just interact with yourself and life in general. When you start investing more into taking care of yourself, and that doesn't just mean like, oh, like my skincare, my diet. It also means, and this is important because like this 8/8 Lionsgate portal is happening during Mercury retrograde. It is retrograde in Virgo. It will be moving back into the sign of Leo. Right now, in September, or actually I think on the 31st of August. No. See, I just say stuff sometimes. On the 15th of August, Mercury will retrograde into the sign of Leo in the 3rd house. And I think that like this is really a time for you to start prioritizing yourself and your well-being. And that means just like, how are you spending your time? Because how you spend your time is like how you spend your life. You know what I mean? So that's just something that I really want you to consider. If this resonates with you, if this is something that like feels up for you, then you know that this is your pile. And we're gonna start flipping over the cards now. So stick around, because you're probably gonna hear more stuff that you resonate with. So this isn't like the best setup, and obviously I have had better setups, but I just have this not great tripod right now, and unfortunately you can't see all of the cards, and it's a little bit obtrusive. But all the same, I'll just do my best to keep everything in the frame as much as possible. But so what we need to know right now, Star Mother in reverse. Yeah, you need to take better care of yourself. How can you mother yourself? I think that you've actually been doing a really great job of taking care of yourself. I think that you've been doing a great job of mothering yourself and nurturing yourself in the ways that perhaps you may not have gotten that in the past. And this isn't to say that your mother or maternal figure in your life was neglectful, But, you know, sometimes there are just like cracks, you know, sometimes there are parts of us that like don't get the nurturing that we need, and that's just human because everybody is human. But I do feel like you are someone, I mean, you also might have had like a super great mom and you just have some sort of neuroticism. Star Mother, this has to do with Virgo because it has to do with the Virgin. So I do feel like this really has to do with your patterns and your habits. This also has to do with the way that you think about yourself. You may be too hard on yourself. You may like have like honestly way too high expectations for yourself. And that's actually self-sabotage. Like to have, okay, so I know that like I have a ton of things to do sometimes, and I'll put that all on my to-do list. But because I have learned tools to help me not self-sabotage as a person who is diagnosed with ADHD for the past 7 years, although I already knew that I had it for much longer than that. But as somebody who is diagnosed with ADHD, like I had to learn the ways in which I was setting myself up for failure. And one of those ways is that like I just get analysis paralysis at the thought of like doing a task. And so I would procrastinate on doing the task. And it was because it's like, oh, this is so daunting. How am I ever going to get this done? Well, you're going to get this done like one step at a time. How do you put your clothes on? You know, in the morning, you put on one article of clothing at a time. You know, you put on your clothes, your pants, one leg at a time. I mean, unless you stand, you put your pants on the ground and you put both legs into the holes at the same time and pull them up. But in order to walk, you can only move 1 foot at a time. You know what I mean? So for you to make forward progress, you can't pull, even if you're like pulling yourself on your elbows, what have you, you still have to use one at a time to pull yourself forward. That's how you do it. So like allowing yourself to have the space to do things just like one at a time. You know, it doesn't have to be this huge catastrophe. Not everything, like I'll make this example earlier. I was just like getting overwhelmed I often get overwhelmed at the thought of like getting dressed for bed after I take a shower, and also when I wake up. I take 2 showers a day. So it's like, okay, I gotta dry myself, I gotta lotion myself, I gotta do in order, I have to dry myself, I have to do my skincare, I have to lotion myself, and I have to do my hair. And it's just like, it can get very overwhelming mentally. But when I just break it down as one task, okay, one task, then I like in my mind, sometimes I'm just like, oh my God, then I have to do this other thing. Like if I have to get dressed because I got to make myself dinner and I got to do it by this time, and da 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 da. And it's like, dude, like there's nowhere that we're really rushing to. You know what I mean? Like I said, Rutherford be crazy. Like there's nowhere that we have to rush to actually. You know what I mean? If you are living a healthy, normal life and things are not aligned with that life, then those things actually are the things that have to go, not you taking care of yourself. And that is something that I do think is going to be very much up for you with this 8/8 portal all the way till next year. At the same time next year, I think that this is something that you're going to be learning. It's going to be like you it's you forging new neural pathways and you actually like re-navigating old situations and also like reactivating old neural pathways. So like sometimes if I don't practice French, I will start to forget it. And if I'm not hearing an accent often, like it's not how like my mouth and my vocal cords form themselves to express. So when I was taking French for a very long time, I was much better at it, obviously. But then when I'm not taking it and I'm not talking to anyone who speaks French and I'm not listening to any like French like stuff, you know, like music or whatever, I'm not picking up on, I'm not like in that, and I can start to forget it. You know what I mean? Even my mom's cousin, I guess I'll call him my uncle. My uncle's wife is Brazilian, and she was telling me, I mean, I've known her since I was a little kid, 𝗂𝗪, and she was telling me that she has started forgetting Portuguese, even though that is her first language, because she's like lived in America for so long, you know? So I feel like these things that like really used to define you when you were younger, the things that brought you joy when you were younger, before you were like, oh, I gotta be this person to conform and assimilate, I think that you really need to get back into those things. I'm seeing swimming. So I'm hearing like dive on in, which is from an episode of American Dad. You might like really be into like comedy. And if not, I feel like you would do well to like spend some time like getting into comedy and like watching comedies, because you need to lighten up, if I'm being real. You might be somebody who like, you like to watch, I'm hearing murder mystery role play, but I was gonna say like true crime. I cannot relate to that at all. I'm not at all. You will never ever catch me watching true crime or listening to true crime. I hate that shit. But most people like it. I always hear people talk about how much they like it. You might be somebody who's super into that. You need to get out of that. Not forever, but like you're just way too caught up in the darkness of life is what I'm picking up on. And you need to nurture yourself, and you need to nourish yourself with things that make you feel nice and soft and good. You need to laugh more. So maybe like you need to watch more funny shows. Even if you think it's stupid, like, you know, some people, a lot of people, Always Sunny is one of my favorite shows. I write screenplays. That's part of what I do as an artist, and I write dark comedies. So I watch a lot of comedy. And I will say this also, like, I stopped watching films for a long time, especially when I was in undergrad, because it just felt like a distraction in a way, or like I just felt like I couldn't pay attention. And so at a certain point when I was just like not doing well mentally, like at the beginning of this year and end of last year, I decided to get back into watching films. And because when I was a teenager, like I used to watch a new film every day. I'd come home from school, I would watch like film after film after film, because I really didn't do my homework. I would do it just like, I would do it, but I didn't have like a regimen or a routine, and that is something that you're being encouraged to like create for yourself right now. A regimen and a routine where you're not finding time, you're making time for your hobbies. And so, yeah, where you're creating like this, yeah, I was like on the weekends, I have to watch at least one new movie, because I hadn't been doing that. And like film was such an important part of my life, to the point where like literally it was my minor in undergrad, and I'm studying media studies in grad school. And yeah, I've been writing screenplays probably, I would say since I was in middle school, probably elementary school, actually. I've always been into writing screenplays. So I realized that I was getting far away from myself. I was becoming someone that I didn't know why I was becoming that person. Like, why am I not watching films anymore? What am I investing my time into? Working all the time, worrying, like drama, shit that's not fucking like doing much for me. And okay, it's paying the bills, but it's really not paying them that much. And I frankly would much rather be watching a film and like studying filmmaking and learning, like finding the things that like make me feel infinite. What makes me feel like, oh my God, person is a genius. You know what I mean? And investing more time into like my dreams and my aspirations instead of into somebody else's dreams and aspirations, especially if I don't actually agree with their dreams and aspirations, or if I don't fuck with them on a human level. But so I would watch one new movie every week. I had to watch at least one, and usually I probably would end up watching like 3 in a weekend and then like back to, you know, whatever the heck. But I haven't done that in a little while, just because like I've been going through a lot of transitions, and when I'm going through big changes or when I'm just like down in the dumps, I just watch a lot of comedy, and like my favorite things I'll watch over again. But why am I saying this is because like a lot of people think that like Always Sunny is just a bunch of white people yelling at each other. That is what everybody always says when they think about Always Sunny, but actually it is a satire. And when one understands like that it is a satire and that these are intentional choices, even down to the type of music that they're using for their theme song, in contrast to the antics and shenanigans that they are carrying out in the show, it is actually incredibly sophisticated, intellectual, and mindful and meaningful in a way that like people who are, you know, not actually thinking at that level and probably just don't understand satire, and or do not understand the way in which American society works. They're not seeing that, and they're not thinking about that. So there's actually like, there's stuff to be learned. I think that you're due for a consciousness shift, actually, is something that I'm kind of picking up on. Like, you might be really in a mind state where you're just like, life is terrible, everything's terrible, oh, I'm so demoralized. And it's like, maybe you need to take your head out of the doldrums, like get a higher perspective, because you'll notice, like, I don't know if you've ever hiked before or if you've ever climbed a mountain, but this is also true, like, if you're in an airplane. I remember times where I've, like, been in an airplane and, like, we are flying above a storm and we would have to, like, stay in the air until the storm stopped so that we could land. Also, if you, when I hiked the Smoky Mountains, in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, I was just like, I was a kid, but I was like so astounded by the fact that like we were literally walking through clouds, and I thought that was so cool. And it's like, I think that you would do well to okay, I see what's going on. You might, right now, whether you're watching this when I post it or whenever, you're due for a consciousness shift. And unfortunately, Jupiter is in fall in the sign of Gemini. It will be there for the next, I think it'll be there until 2025 at least, because Jupiter will be retrograde, and so it will move back towards Taurus, and then it will move forward again, and I think we might have another retrograde, and then it will finally move into Cancer. But when Jupiter is in Gemini, we tend to hyperfixate, and we aren't as big picture thinkers as we need to be. Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius. It is also the ancient planetary ruler of Pisces. Both of those signs are associated with higher knowledge. In fact, Sagittarius is associated with higher education. So we tend to regress in our thinking when we are, and like get caught up in the small things when we are in the sign, when Jupiter is in the sign of Gemini. And I would really encourage you right now to remind yourself big picture thinking. Like, you might feel stuck and you might feel trapped, but when you like zoom out, you may find that it no longer feels that way. You know what I mean? Like, it's about your perspective, and I do feel like you're working yourself too hard, and you really need to tap into your inner loving parent, and just take better care of yourself. Like, nourish yourself. If you are forgetting to eat, this is also for me too. And if I'm forgetting to eat, I'm not going to be okay. So like nourish yourself, make sure you're hydrated, you know, go get your like annual checkups, go to the dentist. If you don't have insurance, like you can get on Medicaid, you know, and I know that nobody wants to pay for insurance and we shouldn't have to if you're in the United States, but like it's really important, like as we age, to be making sure that our health is up to par. Even if it's just like the lowest tier of Medicaid, like go get yourself checked out at the doctor so that you can know how to take care of yourself, especially if you are aging. Because some of you, I feel like something that is bothering you is actually health stuff, and you don't even realize that like something is wrong in your body, and it's because you don't go to the doctor, you don't go to the dentist. That's one thing that I have always prioritized, is going to my doctors, and I just am really baffled when I see that people are not. But I also am very sensitive, and like I need to go to the doctor regularly. So maybe other people just are less susceptible to illnesses than myself. But I definitely feel like this pile, if you picked pile 2, I think you probably are due for a checkup. And paying a small copay is better than paying with your life, because sometimes we don't realize that we have cancer until we're at stage 4. Not to say that you have cancer, because I don't think that that's what it is. I'm not making those assumptions, but I am saying like you really need to take care of your health with this Star Mother card here. And actually Venus and Mercury retrograde are going to be conjunct in the sign of Virgo on the 5th. Venus is in detriment in the sign of in the 5th house. Venus is in detriment in the sign of Virgo. So anything that has to do with Venus, the moon is also here at 25 degrees. Anything that has to do with Venus, that is to say your money, that is to say your honey, your values, those are, I guess, taking a hit. They're kind of suffering at this time. I think that part of if you're having health issues, part of it is your environment. That has to do with the 3rd house, which is in Cancer. You are getting rid of toxic dynamics and patterns that you were indoctrinated into, either through your genetics, like epigenetic inheritance of trauma, or you know, your household, the way that you grew up. And environment, when we talk about environment, particularly 1st house, 2nd house, 3rd house, and 4th house, a lot of the time we think about the space that we are in, but actually it can also it's largely the people as well. I'm picking up something to do with school. School has to do with career as well, so this might be 10th house stuff. You might want to look at your 10th house. We have Pluto retrograde at 0 degrees of Aquarius in the 10th house. And I feel like you need to take your power back in these situations. Yeah. It's about doing things differently. Like I said, forging new neural pathways. You may have learned to disempower yourself in some way in childhood. I am definitely picking up that it has to do with it's Cancer, it has Star Mother, Venusian themes. So this is feminine stuff. Passive aggression is one thing that might be disempowering you, or you might be around very passive aggressive people. You might be around people who are not really in their power. They don't really exercise their sovereignty. They're not willing to speak up directly for themselves. And so instead they, passive aggressive behavior is manipulative, period. I don't tolerate it in my life, and I don't tolerate it from myself either. because I try my best to not do things that I don't like people doing to me. And so, yeah, like, I will say that, like, I had a lot of friends who had this, like, subversive way of communicating and just very manipulative, and it's a lot of fawning trauma response. I hate that shit, and I know that it shows up in me as well, so I very much, like, am mindful of that in myself, but I definitely feel like you might be around people who are very jealous of you. You may have also had a mother who was very jealous of you. You may have had a helicopter mother, or just a very, like, I am picking up narcissistic mother, but borderline person, just somebody who has a personality disorder perhaps, and you may have been like, why is she like this? She might have a personality disorder. I'm actually picking up the mom from Lady Bird, that film with Saoirse Ronan, I think is her name. 𝗪𝗓, I think might be her name. I don't remember, but y'all know what I'm talking about. If you don't, just look up Lady Bird, which is crazy because I started writing a screenplay when I was 17 years old, and the main character's name is Raven, and that it is a coming of age film, and the main character's name is Raven, and she goes by Lady Bird. And I just think that's really coincidental and weird. But anyway, Lady Bird ends in a way that I really don't like. And it basically is like, she goes off to college and she calls her mom and she apologizes to her mom. And it's like, oh, she was wrong in all of these ways. But it's like, as somebody who is recovering from narcissistic abuse, like, I really didn't like that ending, because her mom actually, like, is a bitch. Like, her mom is super disrespectful towards her. She puts her down. She always has something negative to say about her. And she is controlling. She tries to control her life, her future. She just can't accept that, like, Lady Bird wants more, or I don't remember what her name actually was, but she wants more for herself and for her life. And she's like, it's like this idea of like, oh, what I gave you isn't good enough. And it's like, I see this a lot in boomer parents, where it's like, it's not about what you gave me not being good enough. You should want me to be better than you. As my parent, you should want me to do better than you do. You know what I mean? And so instead of like allowing Lady Bird to like spread her wings, she like tries to clip her wings to the point where like she doesn't even tell her mom that she's applying to NYU. And when her mom finds out that she got into NYU on the day of her graduation, she like, you really might be like someone who's like really into film and media. Like, her mom finds out that she gets into NYU on the day of her graduation after she has like been like, you looked really like ridiculous walking at graduation. Like, why would you say that to someone on their graduation day, especially your own daughter? And so she says that, and then like she finds this out and she gets so mad that she doesn't talk to Lady Bird for like the rest of the summer. Like, that is abuse. That is abusive behavior. And so at the end, Lady Bird ends up apologizing because she realizes like, oh, her mom wrote all these letters to her and then threw them all away, but her dad ended up mailing her all of the letters, and she sees how much like her mom is just suffering and struggling because her mom was an alcoholic and she didn't get the proper upbringing. But I think that the important thing here is that Lady Bird did not accept the limitations that were put on her, and she still went ahead and moved to New York. She still went to NYU, like, and she went and she's becoming her own person. I don't know if that is like anything personal to Greta Gerwig. Like, I don't know if that is like Greta Gerwig's story that she put in there or not, but I really just didn't like the way that it ended, because like, yeah, there's acceptance and forgiveness and stuff like that, which is something that I picked up in the first pile, but then there's also just like, there's no accountability for Lady Bird's mom. Everybody is always encouraging Lady Bird's mom, or like Lady Bird, to just like, oh, you know, like that's just how she is. And it's like, no, it's not okay. It's not okay. So you actually, what I'm picking up is, I think like you might be somebody who had like a maternal figure in your life who really projected a lot of they're codependent. They may have projected a lot of like their own feelings about themselves onto you. They may have like been like, oh, like you, basically like nothing was ever good enough for them from you because they don't like themselves. And what you have to realize is someone who doesn't like themselves, someone who doesn't love themselves is not capable of unconditionally loving you. We are only able to meet others as deeply as we have met ourselves, and vice versa. So if they have not gotten to a place of unconditional love and acceptance for themselves, then they are not going to be able to give that to you. And read all about love, because like when I read this, it catalyzed a revolution of healing that was so powerful and frankly destabilizing. But those structures that were buoying up my mind, I guess, or like my mental framework, the paradigm in which I existed, needed to be destabilized. They needed to come crumbling down. And Bell Hooks says in All About Love, like, abuse and love cannot exist in the same space. You can care about somebody, but if you are abusive ever, and it's not hard to not abuse other people. It's actually not. It is an active choice to cause harm. You actually abuse, because we can cause harm by accident and not realize that we've done that. But if we take accountability and we atone and we do our best to stop doing those harmful things, and it's also contingent upon each person, like what can be harmful. But like abuse, I think that we all understand what abuse is, in terms of like collectively, like hitting other people. That for everybody, that is like abuse. You know what I mean? Or rather, it's harmful. Rather, let's say. And we're not getting into like, oh, kink and vanilla. That's not what we're talking about. Like, we don't need to overcomplicate things. Like, if you go and you punch somebody in the face, like, that's harmful. You know what I mean? Whereas, like, you could do things that are inconsiderate to another person, and that can be harmful. But you can also, like, change, right? You can care about someone a lot, but if you are abusive towards them, there's no love there. And it's really important to understand that, because I don't believe that if it's not unconditional, it's not love, period. That's just what I believe. You can believe whatever you want, but if it's not unconditional, it's not love, in my purview. At the place that I've gotten to in my recovery from myriad forms of abuse, pretty much every form of abuse, whether that was like, I mean, that's not even just like the society that we live in, like friends, familial relationships, professional relationships. And this pile, you may have also found yourself in repeating these kinds of cycles because you haven't done the healing to divest from these cycles. And people smell the blood in one of my mentors, when we first started talking, and getting to know one another in a mentorship capacity, said that sharks smell the blood in the water. And it's really important for you to just be discerning. Call it what it is. Because somebody is abusive doesn't mean that you think that or harmful, they're sick, because having a personality disorder is a disease. It's a sickness. Well, it's a disorder. Being codependent that's a sickness. It's not something that you're not well, you're not sane. And so you will do insane things. I get the sense that you don't want to live like this anymore because it is exhausting you, and you are finding yourself in these patterns of enmeshment that show themselves in myriad different ways. But part of the issue is that you're not being honest with yourself. You have to be honest with yourself, and you have to start calling it out. this person, what they did was abuse. This person, what they like, is a chronic harm doer. And whether that's true of your parent or whoever raised you, this maternal figure, there is a genetic inheritance and a cultural, socio-cultural, but also like as people who live in the Euro-American Empire, it doesn't matter what continent you live on. This is a global hegemony, like imperialism. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you don't live in the West. Because of colonialism and imperialism, we are all affected by it. So sociocultural, yes, but like the personal culture of like the family that you were raised in. And the more that you do this I would recommend to you to get into parts work, inner child healing, so that you can learn how to be your own inner loving parent. There's family dysfunction, and this doesn't mean that you don't love this person and that you don't have to engage with them, but it does mean that there's a lot of healing to do, and you need to start exercising boundaries. Yes, with other people, but one of the most important lessons that I learned is that I have to exercise boundaries with myself. I have a compulsion because of my programming to behave, or I had a compulsion to behave in a way that is disempowering, because that is what a trauma response is. And, it's really time for you to divest from that. So there's a lot here, actually. Like, we got a lot deeper than I was expecting, and we're only on like the first question. I will say this too. I think you should watch more comedies, because I think that that's going to help you shift your perspective and like just invest more time in your joy, because like you have been caught up in the doldrums. You have been caught up in the low vibrations. The only reason that we go to the low vibrations, the dense places, is so that we can rescue ourselves from those spaces. This has to do with Pluto. So you might want to look at where Pluto is in your chart. Has to do with the 8th house, which for 8/8 is in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, as I said. It is in fall in Gemini in the 2nd house. This has to do with our relationships, especially our romantic relationships. Our sensual, intimate relationships. Yeah, I feel like you have a lot of people who are just like, they have hidden feelings towards you, and you know this though. Like, it's not lost on you. And some of these people who are acting super weird towards you have feelings for you, and I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna be real with you. Like, that they can keep that shit, because if you're gonna behave like that because you have feelings, like, we should never be together because you're not well and you're not gonna help me get well. TBH, that's how I feel. If they're gonna lash out at you because of they're not able to deal with their feelings, like, that's a big red flag and a big no. That shit disgusts me. I have experienced it so many times. If you're wondering why this friend of yours is acting so crazy, like, that's why. It's because you probably gaslighting yourself about it. Yeah, they are sexually attracted to you, and you should, like, honestly, this relationship, I think that you should just get rid of it. I think that you need to pull the plug on all of these relationships, that these people can't control themselves. Because I'll tell you what, I can be attracted to somebody if the moment I find out that they are in a relationship, the moment I find out that, like, they're not feeling me, the moment that I find out that, like, there's just some kind of a discrepancy, I can turn that shit off real quick. There's nothing for us to do together. And yeah, you're still a good-looking person, but so am I. And there are a lot of good-looking people out here. You know what I mean? Like, I do not get that shit twisted, and I encourage you to not get that shit twisted either. This is a person, also, it's emotional abuse. It's emotional abuse, and I would really encourage you to get away from them. And I would also encourage you to do cord removal with this person, because they're also like projecting some sort of, they're just projecting some sort of narrative onto you and some like sort of expectations that they have never ever discussed with you or made clear to you. And I for one, I cannot fuck with that. But we also have Mars here in Gemini. I would really encourage you to like do some dopamine detoxes, get outside, go for walks, like without your phone, obviously. When I was a kid, I used to go for walks all the time. And yeah, when I got an iPod when I was in high school, no, I think I got an iPod when I was in 8th grade. But yeah, I like would go for walks by myself all the time. And I learned in 9th grade about walking meditation and like Buddhist walking meditation. And so I started doing that in 9th grade. And I just really loved walking around my neighborhood. Like, I just really loved that because there's a lot of forests and stuff like that. And yeah, I didn't take my phone with me, obviously. I think that like, if it's safe for you to do, leave your phone at home. But if it's not safe, take it with you, but maybe put it on airplane mode and just like get into this pattern and this routine and this habit of like, you know, turning everything off. And the more that you do this, the more that you divest from the matrix. I used to do like brief periods where I would like go on social media breaks. And now like, as soon as I sense myself doing too much social media, like I'll be like, oh, time for a break. But that's very rare for me now because of doing years. And I want to say I started this practice in 2016, so 8 years. Yeah, this practice of like just taking a break from social media, and now I'm not overly reliant on it, whereas a lot of other people my age that I know are very much addicted, and they're like, oh, I'm doom scrolling all the time, and I'm like, that's not a problem for me. But when I notice that it is, I also know that I am hiding from something, I'm trying to escape from something, and it is easier for me to put down that coping mechanism and gently, you know, face what it is I'm trying to hide from. So get yourself an in-person journal, like an actual journal, book of shadows. Get yourself an actual book of shadows and write in that, like, fuck your notes app, like write in an actual journal. Like, I've seen a lot of people getting like hard copy books, and I've seen a lot of people going to the library, and I thought that was like really interesting, and it has made me start going to the library. That's one of the hobbies that I've decided to get back into, because I used to spend a lot of time at the library as a kid. The library was my safe place. And so yeah, get you some hard copy books. You don't have to buy them. You can just like get them from the library, you know what I mean? Like, it's time to get analog. It's time to get into your body. It's time to get into reality, because you are not checked in enough, and you have to be stern with yourself and be a disciplinarian with yourself, and not just like give in to your base desires, because the base desires are going to they're harmful. Okay, so, but like I said, one step at a time, one day at a time. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't just become the age that you are. Oh, I was born, I'm 42 years old now. No, you became 42 years old. Like, over the course of 42 years, 365 days a month, 52 weeks, 365 days a year, 12 months, 52 weeks, 7 days a week, 24 hours in a day, 24 hours in a day, 60 minutes in an hour, 60 seconds in a minute. Okay, when you look at the chart in astrology, you see that actually. Okay, so each degree is it's a second. No, it's a degree, and then we have seconds. A lot of people don't know that. We have degrees, and then we have seconds. So, yeah. this part of the reading has gone so long and we haven't even like gotten into like question 2, pile 2. It is important for you because you have to repair your relationship to your higher power, to the spirit world. And this is a lot of the work that you have to do, but like what we're letting go of is this scarcity mindset, the idea that the whole world is against you, the fear, the lack of belief in miracles, the lack of belief in your own magic, the lack of belief in like the world. I don't know why, but there's this specific Easter in my childhood that just like really stands out to me. I don't know why, but like it was a very magical Easter. Like the energy was just so magical. And I don't know what that was about. But yeah, when I start forgetting about like the magic in the world, it's time for me to unplug and like tune into what's real. I would recommend to you also breath work and meditation. You are somebody who I think you really need a break from technology. And it might be actually like harming your body. Like this actually might be part of what is like what I was talking about. If there is curse work on you, it is being removed right now, but like it's time to stop. Like if you think you're cursed, why don't you go ahead and do the things that uncurse you? You know what I mean? Are you really willing to go to any length to get free? That's what you have to ask yourself. Am I willing to go to any length? For me, my freedom is worth more to me than anything in this life. I am a Sagittarius after all. Arcturians are coming through, so that might have something to do with it for you. But this is why we do spiritual abolition here, because I can't get free if my mind is in prison. And if my mind is in prison, then here I am sitting here believing that racism and racist and like anti-indigenous, anti-black, like white dominant frameworks are real, and that is going to make me hate myself and hate my indigenous culture and think that I'm evil. And let me tell you something, when I was a kid growing up in the fucking place that I grew up and in the Methodist church, I did hate myself for a lot of different reasons, but a big part of it was because I'm queer, I'm non-binary, like I am magical. I knew my whole life I was magical. I knew my whole life that I had powers. And this is a place that they're telling me that I'm bad and I'm evil and I'm wrong and like the way that I was born is wrong. And but at the same time telling me that like God made me. Make that make sense. You know what I mean? Like, why would you make me wrong then? But I had to unlearn all of the abuses of imperialist like thought. And that is what spiritual abolition is about. That is why I teach this. And it is important for each and every single one of us to unlearn these things. Yes, others definitely still do operate from it. And it's important to, you know, meet people where they're at. If somebody is going to harm me, like, you know, God bless. You're still a child of God. But stay the fuck away from me because you're insane. You know what I mean? Like if somebody, cis heteropatriarchy, if somebody's queer-phobic, homophobic, transphobic, if they are a misogynist, even really if someone's a misandrist at this point, like if you hate anybody based off of how they were born and what they were born into, I can tell that you and I are not on the same wavelength. You are very, 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 very far away from my wavelength, and I'm not going to invest any kind of energy into this relationship. And in fact, I will invest my energy in getting away from you, and keeping away from you. And this is something that I feel like is important for you, what you're letting go. Maybe you feel cursed because you are not taking action enough in your life. You are feeling cursed and stuck and trapped because you might be conflict avoidant. That is also a trauma response. Like you are afraid to let go of these relationships for whatever reason. Your reasons for feeling that fear are valid, but there is no real reason for you to stay in a relationship that is actively harming you. Even if it's just like the person is like, dude, a lot of people operate from imperialist paradigms. Most people do. And we're all still unlearning. Like, I'm still unlearning a lot of the things that, like, I'll always be unlearning. You know what I mean? But, like, if this is a person who is causing you harm, like, even if inadvertently, and it's like, oh, that person, like, for all intents and purposes, they are a very kind and loving person, but they are covertly racist. And they don't realize it, or they are like covertly a misogynist and they don't realize it, or they are classist or whatever, you know what I mean? You don't have to stay in that relationship, and you don't owe them that. You don't owe them. This is what has to do with the second house. So I really, really, really encourage you to look at your second house, look at if you have any planets in Gemini, look at Sagittarius, look at the 8th house. You will even want to look at the 7th house and look at Libra. I would also encourage you to look at the 10th house, and really, really look at the 12th house. In this chart that I'm looking at, we have the 12th house in Aries, and here we have North Node at 13 degrees, Fortuna at 9 degrees and 13 seconds, Fortuna at 10 degrees, so almost conjunct, and Chiron at 23 degrees, and it is retrograde. It is important to remember that the North Node is usually retrograde. The nodes are usually retrograde. Because Fortuna and the North Node are conjunct, like, you just have to face your fears. You have to live in your authentic truth. You have to live in your destiny. You have to do it. You cannot allow others to make you feel afraid. You're not trapped in these relationships. You can leave them. Trust and believe. I have left many relationships because they were unwilling to heal. And I was not about to stay in relationships where I was constantly being harmed. And it really took a lot of hard work on my, I would be crying and texting these people like, I can't engage with you anymore, you know, and because I was so, my conflict avoidance is a trauma response, okay? But I got out of that. That's the miracle, is that we can recover, that we can heal, okay? So believe that for yourself. Whatever it is that's making you feel trapped, we live in an infinite universe. This is an 8 year, 888. In fact, oh my God, this is fucking, I didn't even think about that. Like, this is a huge deal. Because usually it's just the 88 portal, but this is an 888 portal. Okay, 8 cubed. I don't know what 8 times 64 is. I guess I can find out. 8 times 64, 512, that comes down to 8. Oh my God. Yo, this is, I can't even fucking begin to tell you. 512 times 4, or times 8, I just want to know, okay? I just want to know. 4096, that makes 1. That comes down to 1. Okay, so this is like a whole ass new beginning. Like, dude, that is insane to me. Which equals 8, bro. That is fucking crazy. How many 8s are on the board? It really does have to do with our personal power. And it is about new beginnings, and it is in remembering your that you are infinite. Okay, let's move on, because we've been on this pile for a long time, which, no shade, I love reading for you guys, but like I said, I've been doing this all day, and like, this video is going to be so long. What's coming in? But y'all know me, Vie Darling, like, we go deep, and as a scholar of esoterics, like, you know, there's no way for me to really abbreviate this stuff. That's just who I am, and I have to accept it, just like you have to accept yourself. I love you. Whoever this is, I really love you. I really do. Like, I get the sense that you are a person who is like, this is very Virgo-in. So you might be a Virgo, you might be a Gemini, you might have heavy Mercury placements, but like, I feel like you might have the sun in the 3rd house. You're somebody who like brings so much light to other people's lives, but you've been surrounded by darkness. And that's why, is because you are such a bright light, and sick people are attracted to you because you have this healing energy, because you are their access point. You are a vortex. You yourself are an access point to infinity and to healing. And so instead of just like being grateful for your presence and like pouring into you, because they're sick and unwell, they like try to control you, they try to possess you, because they are indoctrinated and traumatized into possession consciousness. And it is important to remember that. And you know, you can feel sorry for them because that is a sorrowful existence, but I will say, like, it's not your responsibility. Their healing is their responsibility. Do not stay in a relationship just because you feel bad for someone. You might be a Pisces as well. Don't stay in relationships because you feel bad for people. That's not respectful to you, and it's not respectful to them. That's actually really fucked up. Whether or not they understand, because they are probably someone who doesn't have very much self-respect. Whether or not they understand it, like, it is disrespectful to stay in a relationship with someone just because you feel sorry for them. Like, as somebody who has self-respect and dignity, which I had to work tooth and nail for years to develop, yeah, like, I would never want somebody to be in a relationship with me because they feel sorry for me. I don't want fucking anybody's pity. Like, what I want is respect. And if you can't respect me, we're not gonna have a relationship. I might see you around, I might have to deal with you, but like, we're not having any kind of intimate relationship. I'm not, like, I don't fuck with you for real. I'm not gonna disrespect you because I respect myself, so I don't disrespect others, but like, there's nothing for us to do. So I don't have relationships with people who don't respect themselves. You know what I mean? Because demons try to body jump, just like Frank Ocean said. Like, this is actually, like, I do wear a hat in public places for the most part. I wear sunglasses a lot. I loved masking because, like, I didn't want people, I'm not trying to be seen by you, because I'm not trying to have, like, I don't look people in the eyes when I'm on the street. Like, if they're looking unwell, if they're looking unstable, if they're looking possessed, hell no, I'm not looking you in the eyes. I don't give a fuck. Don't look at me. Don't talk to me. I'm gonna pretend like I never saw you. I don't know you. I don't know you. You know what I mean? And people think that that's disrespectful. No, like, I don't think that you're not a child of God. I don't think that you are any less deserving of getting your needs met, but I'm not opening myself up to having your demons jump onto me, because I already have enough work to do with my own demons. You feel me? And with this voodoo in reverse, I will say, like, I don't feel like this is like super like, oh, you have curses on your bloodline or things, but I do feel like the genetic curses are more so things like bad health. Like, you might have like a history of cancer in your family, or high blood pressure, glaucoma, diabetes. You are someone, you can't afford to not go to the doctor, TBH. You can't afford to not take care of your health, to be very real with you. And this is a big, like, I've had multiple people in my family pass away from cancer. Not like a lot of people, but enough people that, like, it's not easy for me, but I do, like, I'm willing to do whatever I have to do to quit smoking cigarettes, because I know that there's a history of cancer in my family. And, like, yeah, I go see my GYN, and, like, I'm happy to do all of that shit. I love going and getting that shit done, because, like, I don't want to take any risks. And, like, I really invest in my self-care, which, like, as somebody who's neurodivergent, like, ADHD, we are dopamine deficient people. Like, I'm happy to spend the time looking in and doing the research on, like, what foods, what can I introduce into my diet that will boost my dopamine levels. You know what I mean? Especially when I wasn't willing to, when I didn't want to take pharmaceutical medication. But now I'm on 𝗪𝗏 and I fucking love it. But I am willing to do those things because I don't like suffering. I don't like being uncomfortable. I don't like not being well. I was so sick as a kid. Like, I had terrible digestion issues. Like, I just had a lot of problems. And then, like, suddenly I lost my eyesight. I had cavities because, like, on my maternal side, we have low bone density, which is part of being sensitive. I will say my mother has not osteoporosis, but like early signs of osteoporosis. So she has to drink milk. I'm lactose intolerant. I can't drink milk, but like that manifests in me as like having cavities also because I was addicted to candy and I would eat so much candy. But yeah, now I have to like go get my cavities filled and I have to like floss every night and like brush my teeth in the morning and in the evening. And that's because I don't ever, like, I hate being uncomfortable. I hate experiencing pain. Like, I have a very low threshold for it. So I do my best to take good care of myself, because I have suffered enough and I deserve to live a nice, soft, gentle life. I'm the only one who can give that to me. Why am I saying this? Because you, like, I feel like you have taken the backseat in your life too much, because you have, like, Virgo is a healer too. Like, you have been like, oh, I understand why this person is the way that they are. I'm gonna have compassion. I'm gonna have empathy. Just because you understand and you are empathetic does not mean that you have to put yourself in harm's way and let your wellness be corroded. And let me tell you something, your spiritual protection and container is corroded, and more entities, energies, and expressions of existence that are degenerative and unsacred, baneful and malevolent can latch onto you, vampiric entities, and you'll be tired as fuck all the time. You'll wonder why you're so unhappy, why you can't get, like, you sleep all the time and you still can't, like, get energy. And that's a big part of why. So with this, what's coming in, Six of Swords, I feel like you're going to be learning a lot about how to take better care of yourself. Coming back to this Star Mother card. And investing in taking care of yourself. Opportunities to invest. You know what I mean? I think that it's important to change your perspective, and with it being swords, I really feel like this is what it is like you might have a really like low vibrational perspective. Everything is like, oh my God, you might be in a victim mindset, because it's easier for you to be in a victim mindset than to take back your sovereignty, because you feel like you can't get out. But it's not like, yeah, some of you, I do feel like it's like willful, but I really think that it's like a victim mindset, and that like you are just like, I don't know why this always happens to me. And it's like, it always happens to you because you're not putting your foot down. Block them. Stop fucking with them. Change your number, bro. Like, change your number, block them, stop going to those old places. You know, when I got sober, it took a long time for this to play out. But, yeah, I just realized I'm not gonna be at the same places that I used to be at, because what reason do I have being at those places if I'm not there to turn up? And the reality, I've realized something now that I've been going out. I've been sober since 2020. Now that I've been going out again on the scene, because yes, I came up on the underground music scene in New York and the DIY scene. I've been out again, and I was like at a show, and it always felt like these people that like I didn't have any kind of like weirdness when I met them, but now there's like some sort of dissonance, and it's like I came to the realization that's because they're high all the time, not they're like blowing trees all the time. and I'm sober, and my consciousness has been expanding at a rapid rate. I've been healing myself rapidly. You know what I mean? And I am a completely different person than when they knew me, to the point where some people that like, yo, we used to run in the same crew back in the day. You know what I mean? Will see me and not even recognize me and be like, oh my God, that's you, you know, because like, as we change within, we change externally. So they don't even recognize me anymore. And honestly, I find myself just like 11:11 on the clock. I find myself where I'm just like, honestly, I'm not interested in hanging around that same scene anymore, just because like I'm not trying to be known. And that was my old life, and it's fine that they're all on that same type of vibration and wavelength, but like if I am growing and changing, my environment needs to grow and change as well. Coming back to that idea of environment, and that has to do with, like I said, that third house in Cancer. If you like right now, I feel like you're getting rid of a lot of karmic relationships, right? And I think about it in filmmaking, like in terms of filmmaking, like this is a very integral part of my artistic practice, fine art as well. When you are filming, when film was created, they were doing black box studios. And when photography was created, actually, they had what they called a black box, and it's also referred to as the black, well, the first studio, it was referred to as the Black Maria. And they painted the inside of a room all black so that they could have no outside effects from the world, so that they could control what was going on inside. This is also the principle, the underlying principle in the white cube in fine art. So that is what studios, that was the beginning of studios. When Los Angeles was created, you might be in the entertainment industry actually, or you might be interested in getting into it. I would tell you, you need to get over all of this codependent stuff, and like step into your sovereignty. You can book self-sovereignty, advising and cosmic wellness advising with me, Vie Darling, through my Etsy, which is linked in the description. I can help you with that, but if that's outside of your budget, just stick around. We talk about this stuff, and I will be doing workshops again starting Q4 of this year of 2024. Q4 is like September through December, but yeah, so you can't, like, part of the reason that things haven't worked out for you is because like you're not in your sovereignty, you're not in your power. And I do think that your ancestors are protecting you, because you can't go into the lion's den and you don't even know how to fight for real, you know? Like, you can't go, how am I gonna put this? Sharks smell the blood in the water. You need to heal before you like receive all of your inheritance. Yes, you know your destiny, but you need to heal before you receive your destiny. Okay? And that is also what I'm seeing with this 10 of Wands and 9 of Swords in the reverse. Like, this is how we can be of service to these changes. Like, you just really need to admit, like, you need to do the shadow work. You feel me? You need to do the shadow work so that you can finally move forward. But so when Los Angeles was created, you might notice that like certain parts of LA are called like Studio City. And I'm here in Carson City, but that's in Nevada. What is another one? I can't remember. There's another city that is like, it starts with Culver City maybe, but there are a lot of towns that are called what they are because the towns were built as studios. They were built around the studios. Los Angeles was literally made for the film industry because there were large tracts of land that they could turn into studios. And everything about Los Angeles, if you're at all confused or baffled about why it is the way that it is, I literally know this because I studied film and filmmaking and media studies in university. Like, Los Angeles was built specifically for the film industry, and then more largely the entertainment industry. And so if you've ever been to a studio, one of my most like core memories is going to Universal Studios as a kid and going, they don't have this ride anymore, but it was the Twister ride. And you go into a studio, you go into a black box. This is what it's like being on set. I can tell when something is filmed in the studio versus like when it's actually like filmed outside. And you'll do that because you have more control over the effects and the elements, especially if you are somebody who's super into controlling lighting. If you're a DP, director of photography, cinematographer, that sort of thing. If you're like trying to get a very specific ambiance. But I was on this ride, and basically you stand on a sound stage and all around is painted black. You can also see this at like photo shoots, but everything's painted black, and basically they simulated what it was like to be in a Twister, like in the movie. And they were able to emulate that, and it's cool because it's like, oh my god, this is what it's like to be in a Twister, but also this is what it's like making a movie, which is special because it's like Universal Studios, right? And like the Universal lot is like big, like a city, you know, in LA, but also like in Florida. And I do think that is a big part of why Orlando was created the way that it was created. Specifically started with Walt Disney, who obviously was very well versed in picture shows. And that's why he chose to make Disney World in Orlando, Florida, because of like the access to land, right? This may be significant to somebody, but think about it this way. Like when you're writing a film or when you see a film, who, like, the scenes, you know, the settings, even with like a story, a narrative. This is about changing your narratives. I did say timeline jumping. I did say quantum leaping. Like when you're writing a script, you have to understand the setting that sets the tone. And each scene, at the beginning of each scene, you're gonna describe the setting, where they are. You know what I mean? And then you introduce the characters. And then there's the dialogue, and there's the diegetic sound and the non-diegetic sound, which is like sound that comes from in the film and sound that comes from outside of it. And you do all of these things as a filmmaker to create a mood, to create an ambiance. So A24 films have a very specific energy to them, those productions, right? And then neon films have a very specific energy to them, the way that they are produced, right? Excuse me. And basically like each production company, like over time you start to be able to tell like, oh, this is this kind of production. Or if you think about like the quote unquote MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe, which I don't fuck with the MCU. I'm a true Marvel fan, so I really only fuck with the graphic novel universe. But in the first 3 X-Men movie, but you know, the MCU, it's a very specific like aesthetic. It's a very specific like way that the dialogue is written. Like, you know what you're gonna be experiencing when you are like seeing a film from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you know. And then also same for the graphic novels and the comics. That's gonna be different from say Dark Horse. They mainly make like vampires. I think that they do some zombies, but Dark Horse mainly does like vampire graphic novels. Then you have DC, which I'm not a fan of DC. Then you have like, I think part of it is like, I never liked Superman. But I do love Batman. And like Christopher Nolan's Batman universe is different from every other Batman universe. You know what I mean? So like we're thinking in an auteur. You need to become the auteur director of your life, because you may have been being a side character instead of the main character. So this has to do with this Leo stuff. You're about to have a very interesting Mercury retrograde if you're watching this when I post it. Auteur filmmakers. Yeah, like you've been a side character for too long in other people's narratives. You need to take back your main character energy. And if people are like, oh my God, I can't believe that you're acting like that. Okay, you towny ass bitch. Like, I'm not worried about what you can and can't believe. I'm sure there's a lot of things that you can't believe because you're small-minded. I'm sure. You feel me? You gotta have that kind of confidence. You gotta like come through swanging. You feel me? Like straight up swanging. BDE, my friend. That's what you need. And like maybe you need to start listening to like more. I'm not gonna encourage anyone to listen to like media that is harmful, but I downloaded this the other day. Like, of course, hip hop is the way that it is as a production and expression of the Black community, where there is peacocking and where there is like braggadocious bravado, because as a people who have specifically in Black American culture, who have, you know, been marginalized and oppressed and had their power taken away from them systemically and brutally time and again, like, of course you're going to like assert your power in this way. If you're not confident as a rapper, like that can be a character, but like you're just not gonna make it. And that's something that I learned early on. Oh yeah, you can listen to my music on all streaming platforms, by the way. And my songs break curses, so I would actually recommend you to listen to my music. But yeah, you're not gonna make it. You're not, because like you have to have like that kind of, it's not even a bravado so much as like you have to be sovereign. You have to like come through with that like power. You are the sun. You are the god of your life. Of course, obviously, like of your material. I don't even want to put it that way. Like you have co-creative power. So stop allowing people to just get like project onto you what your experience is going to be. Take back your power. Use your voice. And I have had like a tightness in my voice a bit, but honestly, I feel like you know this already because it is coming through like really clearly to me, especially as we have progressed. It's like the stuff that had to do with your like childhood, that like was harder to get through and it was super dense, but like the other stuff that as we progressed, like that is very light. It's coming like very clearly. And I think that it's because you're refusing to see the reality. And the sooner that you get to seeing the reality, this is what I'm saying, right? How can we be of service to these things? Stop being a victim and start being sovereign. That's what you got to do. You know what I mean? Be the auteur of your life. I have so many mood boards. And I'm constantly doing mood boards. And I'm constantly reevaluating what my lifestyle means to me. Because I have a lot of Saturn placements. So 10th house and 11th house are really big for me. My community, society, my career, my lifestyle, particularly. In tropical astrology, I have an Aquarius moon and I am a Capricorn rising. So I'm big Saturn. I'm actually, yeah. Let me not put all my business out there, but I'm a big Saturn bitch, okay? So like I'm big on discipline. I'm big on discipline. And I'm also like big on progress. You know, I'm big on optimization. I'm big on systems and systems that make sense. You feel me? And I'm always optimizing for myself. If it doesn't, like, if what's in my environment doesn't work for me, I'm gonna change it. Like I said, I don't like being uncomfortable. I'll be proactive about that because for too long I sat around and allowed my life to not be my own. And I didn't recognize it and I didn't like it and I was uncomfortable and I was like, I just wanted to, trigger warning for SI, I just wanted to unalive myself because I figured that that would be better than living the life that I was living. But the more that I take back my power and my agency and I learn how to say no to what I don't want and yes to what I do want, regardless of how anyone else feels about it, and I learn how to speak up for myself, you may not like it, but it is what it is. I cannot sit here and allow myself to self-betray by not advocating for myself. At least I tried. At least I know I did the best that I could do. But that, you know what? This is what I feel like you need. And part of the problem is you need to get away from these people who are not willing to be sovereign in their own life. You need to get away from them. They are losers. I don't care how much money they have, what kind of material success they have, like, that is a loser. Their life sucks. Nobody who is living a good life is passive aggressive. Nobody who is living a good life is manipulative. Because if you're living a good life, you don't have to use subversive, covert means to try and manipulate other people, which is to say, rob them of their own personal autonomy. You feel me? Big Saturn bitch, you might be the bitch in the room, but like, hey, you're gonna be the one who's like living your best life, period. So you have grown out of these situations and dynamics. You have grown out of these relationships. You've known this for a long time. I'm seeing a cocoon, a butterfly is like coming out of it, and you need to let that cocoon go. You need to let all of it go. With this 8-8 portal, this is what is happening for you. And it's not something that happens overnight necessarily. Like, healing is non-linear, and also it is a progressive process, right? As you go through the process, you are transformed and you find yourself in new situations and new places. With the Ace of Wands in reverse for what your blessings are, I feel like your blessings are that you're going to come into stability. I feel like you've lacked stability in your life because of this self-sabotaging, codependent dynamic, yes, but it is more so, it's a trauma response. You feel me? Like, I'm saying all of this, and like I said, I've been here before. I can't, like, I'm not gonna sit here and tell people, you know, do this, do that, because I haven't done it. And this is a big part of why doing readings and doing this work is so healing and helpful for me, because I have to hold myself accountable to a certain standard. If I'm not doing the things that I say that I channel for other people to do in readings, first of all, that's a gift and that's a blessing that I get to channel. Oh, this is a thing that I can do to help myself. But secondly, then I have no right to sit here and like share with you this information. You can do whatever you want. You are an autonomous human being, and maybe you never heard that before. I remember when I was 17 years old. No, actually I was 16. It was the summer before my senior year of high school. My sister, her boyfriend, like got her tickets to the Landmark Forum when she was for her birthday, and she was allowed to take guests for her last day, because I think it might be a pyramid scheme. I don't really know about that type of shit, but like either way, she took my other sister and I, and I heard for the first time, literally I'd never heard this in my life before, or maybe I had and I hadn't been ready to receive it, but I heard, you have power. You have power in your life. You have power to impact your life and like make changes in your life that are impactful, effectual, you know, and that changed my life forever. I don't know where I would be, but I know that that was a pivotal point in my life. That summer, I got my first job at a very, very, well, actually, they are famous, a very famous cupcake shop. This was like the 2010s, so cupcake shops were like a really big deal. But I've always wanted to own a bakery and a cafe, and so like that, I was studying small business as my senior year research project, and I was doing an internship, and so I chose to do my internship at this cupcake shop, and yeah, I like learned so much. I became a completely different person, but it wasn't just because of the cupcake shop. It's because I learned that I had power and I could make choices that would change my life. It didn't have to stay the way that it was. And here I am, like 14 years later. I was 16, so yeah, like 13, 14 years later. And if I had not, my sister and I threw ourselves into like self-help. We would listen to The Secret as a book on tape, the 48 Laws of Power. Mind you, I'm a teenager, I'm a child, I'm 16 years old. I'm already studying world religions at that point. I'm already studying occultism and esoteric mysticism, magic, all of that stuff. And this just like activates something within me. And that is when I got into the law of attraction. So that's why I say I'm not a law of attraction girly. I'm not into that. I do co-creation after being in that community, for having knowledge of it and being in it and like being adjacent to it, like an intimate awareness of it for over a decade. I know that it is just scratching the surface. And it's not very, that's why a lot of people quit, because they're like, it doesn't work for me. Yeah, it doesn't work for you because they don't teach you that you have to do the shadow work and you have to heal in order to get those things. So with Ace of Wands, I feel like you need to hear this. You are powerful. You are powerful. You are powerful. You have the power to change your life. You deserve to have a life worth living. You deserve to have a fulfilling life. You deserve to live a life that you love. You deserve to experience joy in the majority of your experiences in life. That is not wrong. That is right. All of us deserve that. That is an unalienable right. And if you grew up in the United States of America, or you know anything about philosophy and political science and things like this, we did have to take like national, state, and local government when I was in high school. I don't know if other people have to do that in high school, but I grew up outside of DC, so that was like really important. But, and then you learn this stuff in history, but this is philosophy stuff, and you might actually benefit from reading some books on philosophy. All economics is philosophy. In fact, like Karl Marx was actually a philosopher. John Locke, his philosophies, he was a philosopher more than he was like anything else really. But like Marx studied under Hegel. He was a young Hegelian, and he didn't like the way that the other young Hegelians were just armchair theorists. And so he broke off and he did his own thing. I believe that the father of sociology, Emile Durkheim, Western sociology, one of them, Karl Marx and Emile Durkheim, are two of the fathers of Western sociological thought. And I believe that, I'm pretty sure that Marx was a young Hegelian, but Durkheim may have been one too. You should study sociology. You should study philosophy, psychology, because you need to better understand yourself. But as you come to better understand yourself and divest from these systems of disempowerment, you are going to really, really start to get a more stable life. And I do get the sense that you have not known very much stability, because your foundation is fraught, because you are living in a delusion where you're lying to yourself about your experience. And I just tell it like it is, because you need to know the truth in order for you to like build a life. You cannot, like, on Christ the solid rock I stand, all other ground is sinking sand. What do I qualify as Christ? Consciousness, crystalline consciousness, 𝗪𝗶𝗨𝗪. If you didn't read this week's newsletter, go read it. But unconditional love and unconditional truth, that is how you activate the Godhead. That is if you want to like look up the idea of a Godhead, I would encourage you to look up people who are actually Vedic and Hindu, as opposed to like learning this stuff from people who it's not even actually their culture. That's how you activate the Godhead. You might want to do crown chakra meditation, but if you're gonna do crown chakra meditation, you need to be doing like root chakra. You need to start healing your root chakra, because you do have you have inner child wounds that need to be healed. And if you start activating your crown chakra before your Sahasrara, I always say this wrong. It's so hard for me to say. I can say all these other Sanskrit words like in the right way, but like that one is so hard for me for whatever reason. This has to do with Saturn. This also has to do with the great conjunction of 2020. When Jupiter and Saturn were conjunct, people call that the Star of Bethlehem. That is something that people think was like, that conjunction was what they referred to as the Star of Bethlehem, that led the Magi, who were Zoroastrians, to Yeshua. You need to build, you can't, on Christ the solid rock I stand, all other ground is sinking sand. One of my favorite grimoires is the Bible. I'm seeing this, you might identify with that lineage very deeply. You might really resonate with Yahweh, Yahweh, Thor. What is this name I'm forgetting? Yeah, but you might really resonate with Yahweh. That's the Iwe name. Yahweh is the Semitic name, which includes Arabic. Thor, you might identify a lot with, but just like thunder gods and Jupiter. You might actually be a Sagittarius, but this makes sense also because Sag and Jupiter are sister signs. But yeah, it's time for you to expand your consciousness, because this is going to help you and like really to come into the truth. It's going to help you to ground. So the blessings that are coming to you with the 888 portal, it is stability, okay, and a new foundation. And it's not even about like, oh, new energy. No, the energy's there. It's about like, you got to sweep away all that other nonsense. But I'll tell you what, I feel some of you, you've been doing this work, and I'm so proud of you. I want to say that. I feel like people don't say that enough. Like, I'm so proud of you, because this work is harrowing and it is arduous and it is such a like, it feels like a never-ending toil, but that's not necessarily true. It does come to an end. We know this. We go through cycles, but this cycle has been really bad because you have been disabusing yourself of like these old paradigms, and it's probably been really exhausting for you. So I want to commend you on that. It like this 888 portal is just sweeping all that shit away. It's sweeping all of it away. You know, and all that karmic bullshit that you've been carrying around, or even if you have been like, I'm putting this down, I'm not doing this anymore, and it just keeps coming, that is coming to an end. Remember, we did have this voodoo in reverse for what we're letting go. So some of you have been, I mean, if you're a light worker, an earth angel, you know, an outlier, like I said, if you're a healer, some of these starseeds, some of these people, like they're attracted to your energy because they know that you can heal them. And also it's just like in, what is it called? True Blood, when all the vampires like go crazy for 𝗂𝗃 because she has, fairy blood. You know, they're soulless, which is to say they don't have the sun. They can't create. They're dead. Because they're fallen, and you have the sun, and you are literally like this like God consciousness. And yeah, all these reasons for you to like hate your life are being swept away, and I'm so grateful for that. I'm so happy for you. I did this for the first pile, and I want to do it for y'all too. Dark Angel is at the bottom of the deck, as y'all know, but for you, Divine, oh no, I need to shuffle. Like, don't be afraid to be who you is. Someone very close to me, like throughout my high school years, her mom was like, we were at her birthday or something, and we were in the car, and her mom said to her brother, be who you is. And then she said the N-word, but I'm not gonna say that right now. But yeah, I've always remembered that because she was very much an anomaly for a Liberian mother, an African mother, to encourage all of her kids to just be who they were. And like, one of her sons is gay, and like, she was like super with the shits. Like, she was just like so accepting and encouraging of her kids, and she said that, and like, I've always remembered that ever since then. Some of you, like, there is mind control programming that is, you may have been victimized by MK Ultra, but that's purging out of you now. And reassurance of the golden light, cosmic heart, cosmic Christ. Yo, I do not miss the mark. Dark night of the soul in reverse. Yo, what did I say? What did I say? Exactly. Vie Darling, I don't ever miss the mark. I never do. I love you all truly and deeply. I truly hope that this was helpful. If not, there are so many other readings on my channel. There are also so many wonderful, amazing readers on YouTube. But I will also say this much. If you learn to read for yourself and to decipher spiritual messages for yourself, you won't have to worry about not getting messages that are helpful, right? So there's me empowering you even that much more. I love you all truly and deeply. I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful 8/8 portal, or whenever you are seeing this, and I will see you on the flip side. Peace. Okay. Pile 2, I forgot to ask y'all to leave some emojis in the comments so I know who got pile 2, and I would love if you could leave a heart, a red heart, and a flame emoji, and swords, 2 swords crossing each other, because y'all are breaking free of the bondage of your heart, and I would love to just see that in the comments. So go ahead and leave that, like, comment, subscribe, share with someone that you think would benefit from this, because that's how we build out this community of light, and that's how we cultivate our soul family. So yeah, I'm sending y'all so much love. Peace. Peace, family. Peace, pile 3. If you chose this pile, then it's pile 3. I have been doing this like for hours and hours now, and pile 2 just was like so long that I realized I was gonna have to break this up into 2 videos. So I took a break and I finally ate dinner, and now I'm feeling low-key delirious. I was on a schedule and I gave myself like 2 days to do this, and then I was like, oh no, because I'm gonna do like my makeup and I'm going to see my friend perform, well, to see my friend DJ actually. I'll just do it that night because then I can still wear the same makeup. And it's just like, I definitely overestimated how long this would take. And I probably could have done without the energy work. And I probably could have done without like, I don't know. I'm a little bit delirious, but so I pulled for each pile an extra guiding crystal card, and it's a little bonus card, but yours is lapis lazuli, which doesn't surprise me at all because lapis lazuli is highly, highly, highly connected to 8/8 Lionsgate portal. I always get this stone around this time. It always feels super potent, powerful around this time. And lapis lazuli, a deep blue stone with deep history. See ancient Egypt, Tutankhamun's eyeshadow, the Old Testament, the high priest of Israel's vestments, and the Dutch Golden Age, Vermeer's palette. Who needs it? Cat people, Leos, anyone who uses the phrase in a past life. I'm totally convinced I was a, where to put it, as a spiritual armor that lets the world know when I walk into a room, it's customary for y'all to bend the knee. When to use it: when your thoughts are not your friends, call on 𝗪𝗲𝗁 to help get you out of whatever your mind has gotten you into. So that's cool. I gotta get this out. I gotta get this done. I'm not gonna rush through you guys' reading. I'm gonna take my time because I don't have to really do any editing to this one, so that's gonna make it a lot easier and faster. And I gave everybody else their fair, you know, share of my attention and energy as a reader, and I will be giving you that same level of care and attention. So I'm just making sure that I have like the chart up and I can see all of the astral insights pretty easily. I feel like, let's like spread your cards out, but just from your crystal, I feel like you have potentially been on like a long journey of self-actualization, and you are just like in your power right now. Whereas like pile 2, I felt like was still like developing their sense of personal power. I feel like you are already like so in there, and look how many cards you got for blessings. Like you got 6 cards for blessings, and that is more than any other pile got. So I think that that is super exciting. And it says a lot about you, I think, just on a personal level. But so let's get into it. For what we need to know, I'm going to point with my pen. Council of Light, divine orchestration, helpers in the subtle realm. Yeah, like I said, like I feel like you've been on a really long journey of basically downloading your higher consciousness, like downloading your downloading your higher consciousness. Like that's basically what it is. Like you've been doing a lot of shadow work to remove the veils that have been upon your consciousness and keeping you from being able to tap into your higher consciousness. And like I have said many times before, I had to just go get my 𝗪𝗏𝗧 deck so that I could get some clarifiers. Yeah, it's not necessarily that you weren't doing anything like to develop your higher consciousness. It's actually more so that like we collectively, where we were at planetarily and universally, like could only access a certain frequency, and now we can access like a higher frequency, and you're coming into this higher frequency. I have said this time and again, people, I definitely feel like you have some haters who have been like working against you and trying to keep you low vibrational. I have been thinking, okay, the person, let me finish what I was saying and then I'll get into why I'm saying this. Your blessings that you have been promised, like I said, there are 6 cards for your blessings in this spread. 6. Okay, that's more than any other pile had. Your blessings were of a frequency that could not yet manifest on earth, because if you are meant to be manifesting like the heavenly realms, the divine, like kingdom of heaven on earth, like that's the frequency of your blessings, but that was not fully capable of like manifesting in the 3D. And you might be someone, because I definitely feel like I have thought about this before, like, oh, I wasn't able to manifest, like I wasn't able to maintain my manifestations. And the fact of the matter is that's not really the case. It's that like, yeah, like things did destabilize. We talked about this in pile 2. Things were destabilized, and like you had to keep like falling down and getting back up, starting over again. You had so many tower moments, and yeah, you had plenty of lessons to learn. But my experience is that okay, I'll talk about this guy that I used to date. He was an idiot. He was just an asshole, and I really didn't even like him from the first time that like I hung out with him. But I was codependent, and I was bored, and I wanted attention, so I dated him, even though he was an asshole. And basically, like, I don't know how many times we broke up and got back together twice. Final time that we broke up was the 3rd time. 3rd time's the charm. 3rd time is when it finally sticks. But basically, I had like tried to break up with him prior to that. Like the 2nd time we broke up, I know was definitely me. He may have broke up with me the 1st time, but then he expected me, I guess, to be upset about it, and I was like, okay, bye. And like, but like I said, I was bored, so I took him back. And then I broke up with him, and I was just like, I don't want anything to do with this person. Like, I was like cutting cords. Like, I was just like, no, no, no. But it felt like a compulsion. It felt like something that I could not like stop from happening. And I knew, like, spirit told me like that after that 3rd time, like there were still karmic lessons that we had to learn from each other. And after that 3rd time, like it would finally be done. And you know, it was like from the very start, I was just like, ugh, I'm not with this shit. But I just like do it anyway. And it was, if you are somebody who's actually like conscious and conscientious, and you actually like pay attention to how you feel and what you're thinking, and if you're able to discern what is yours and what is not yours, oops, you get the moon. What is yours and what is not yours, then you'd be able to discern what is a karmic cycle that you just have to see this out, versus like a karmic pattern that you have to stop doing that thing that you keep doing, versus like, yeah, some things you just can't escape. Like you have to go through that karma in order to fulfill your mission. And you wrote that timeline out before you came and manifested on Earth. And that's not like, sometimes we're like, oh, I know for myself, I have been like, why did I choose to like go through this? Because you hear that in like readings sometimes, and you hear people in the spiritual community say that. And those people oftentimes are not trauma informed, and oftentimes are abuse apologists. We do our best in the Aetherium to be trauma informed and to not be perpetrators of abuse, which in abuse apologists are perpetrators of abuse, and they are an integral part of the maintenance of systems of abuse. But why am I saying this? It's not like, oh, like I decided that I was gonna have this horrible life and I was gonna go through all this traumatic stuff. No, like if you manifested into a specific bloodline that had a lot of like, when we understand as a chosen one, from the outside looking in, you might think like, oh my God, like that's so cool. Like, you know, I have people in my life who, I see a lot of people, especially in my teachers like group, who are like, how can I open my 3rd eye? How can I like get powers? Da-da-da-da-da. I see subliminals that are like, get new powers, da-da-da-da-da. And I'm just like, if you fucking understood what this shit was like, you would never go looking for this kind of trouble. You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of times people start going looking for mystical powers in this like journey. It's just like when Frodo is like, oh God, I feel like this is at Rivendell. I feel like he hasn't even gotten, like, I don't even think that this is like in The Return of the King. But Frodo is like, all the times that he wished that he could have gone on the adventures with Bilbo, and now he's on one and he can't wait for it to end. He's on his own adventure and he can't wait for it to end. And it's like, Bilbo's adventures, first of all, The Hobbit was a children's book. The Lord of the Rings trilogy is not for children. And then there's also the 𝗪𝗪𝘁, which is absolutely not for children. It is absolutely not for anybody who's like not a hardcore like Tolkien fan. So I think that goes to show like the different levels of like consciousness. You know, you could be somebody who's like intro level, you know, just a dabbler, just a little bit of, oh, I find this interesting, and like maybe you think about like, oh, you follow the moon cycles, things like that. That's like what's his name? Bilbo's adventure in The Hobbit. But when we are on a higher level, Bilbo had all these adventures, and most of them were just like fun. Yeah, it was dangerous, but he was not battling powers and principalities. He was not battling a primordial evil that, well, actually, Sauron is not the primordial evil. He is not like evil incarnate. He's just a necromancer who's very powerful. He is a servant of Morgoth, aka Melkor. Melkor is a primordial. This is definitely my chosen one pile. This is definitely like Earth Angels. Like, this is definitely, you might also resonate with, I'm not going to get into that, but you might resonate with like elves. Yeah, but Morgoth, aka Melkor, like, it was an Aeon. He helped to create the manifest universe, and he like spent too much time alone and started to have perverse ideas and thoughts. And so when they were singing the universe into existence, he went against 𝗪𝗪𝗪, who was the conductor, and 𝗪𝗪𝗪 was like the head god, or if you will, 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗁, but like head god of all of these, of the Ainur, who helped him, which are basically like the Aeons, who helped him to create Arda, which is the manifest universe. And so Morgoth kept fucking the song up because he'd been perverted from spending too much time in isolation and having sick, warped, weird thoughts that were unnatural. And so 2 times he ruins the song, and 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 is just like, stop ruining the song. But the problem is that he, like, because he is like one of the most powerful Ainur, the other Ainur who are near him, this is during the Ainulindal. I talk about this all the time. But there's a reason why I talk about this all the time. Anyway, this is during the Ainulindal, when the manifest universe is being created, Arda, and the other Ainur that are near him, who are not as highly ranked as him or not as powerful, like, they start to sing in this discordant way, in these discordant tones, because they harmonize to him, to Morgoth. And this sets within them this, it's basically like setting within them this like, yeah, perversion, but that's not the word that I want to use. It sets within them this proclivity for, yeah, perversion, but it is temptation. And what ends up happening later on is like those Ainur, actually this is the Maya. No, these Ainur end up like, some of them end up actually like choosing to follow Morgoth. Morgoth in a way is like what a lot of people think is Lucifer, but most of those people who think that don't even know, they don't even know the mythology or the lore that they're talking about. I would not say that that is Lucifer. I'm hearing 𝗪𝗲, but yeah. You'd think that it's Lucifer, and then the other right hand Ainur is Michael, but I don't remember what his name is. But so he like escapes into 𝗪𝗲 to go and continue, like he has obviously like corrupted the creation of 𝗪𝗲, but I don't remember if he like, if 𝗪𝗏𝗻 doesn't allow it to stand, but I think that like he does end up like making like distortions in the creation of 𝗪𝗲, and then he like, when the Valar are going into, when the Ainur that become the Valar go into 𝗪𝗲, so they basically, they're aeons, they are energies from outside of the universe, who created the universe along with 𝗪𝗏𝗻, the Most High God, or the Most High Creator, Divine Creator. They, some of them choose to go into 𝗪𝗲 to go explore the creation. They are the Valar. And the Valar, I feel like I explain this every time because it's like new people find it and need to hear it, but like the Valar are essentially like gods. They are the deities, and they have godlike power. And what ends up happening, if I'm remembering correctly, because it has been years since I like learned this stuff, they like fall, they are starlight, and they fall onto like the mud of Earth. It's Middle Earth. And when they like wake up, they like literally get it up out the mud, and they like just start singing, and they just like sing until they like wake up, and then they like just start roaming around and they just sing, and they start to find each other. And it's like I don't remember the numbers, maybe it's like 32, 64, and like multiples of that, but they find each other where each other like landed in the mud. So this is cosmology. J.R.R. Tolkien was a like, I'm pretty sure he had a PhD, like a doctorate, but he taught at Oxford. So like he was really well versed in linguistics and theology, world religions. And so yeah, they like landed, it's cosmology basically. And he created this because he wanted like the British when they were invaded by the Normans, I think like Norman, like what you'd say of Normandy, but like the Normans basically robbed them of their own theology and their own stories that had been passed down for generations. So like the earliest stories that they had were things like Beowulf and stuff, which were, it wasn't their original indigenous heritage necessarily. So that's why Tolkien created the Silmarillion and the Legendarium. But yeah, Morgoth comes into 𝗪𝗲, he becomes Melkor, and he is a primordial evil, because 𝗪𝗏𝗻, the giant spider that almost kills Frodo, she is also a primordial evil. So like an eldritch terror is what I've seen other people kind of like refer to her as. So there's more than one primordial evil, but the specific one that like we're all so concerned about is Morgoth. And he comes into Middle Earth and he becomes Melkor. And when he becomes, like, do look at this card. Like, there is definitely a reason I'm saying this. This might be activating you to past life memories that you don't remember, or that you've been trying to put together for a while, but just maybe haven't been able to. You might, like, have an affinity towards these kinds of like high fantasy stories, and this is because you are an ethereal being. That's what I was trying to say. Like, yeah, you may identify as like an earth angel and stuff, but like it's not elves, it's ethereal beings, because certain realms are only available in the ethers because they are of a higher dimension and therefore less dense. So you can't access them in the 3D, but if you're an ethereal being, you can sense them, the energetic change from place to place. You might be a crystal grid worker as well. I really feel that, like, from this reading, but yeah, I do. Yeah, so 𝗪𝗁 just causes so much havoc. He tries to steal the 𝗪𝗪𝘁, which are these big giant gems, but they are basically the sun and the moon. And like, there are all these wars that are fought because of him and his just like penchants for chaos and disaster, you know? But yeah, he is actually like this big bad, okay? But people think that Sauron is the big bad, and he's not. But somebody who is at like Bilbo level, you know, that dragon, I feel like the dragon is more so like, I don't know. Anyway, you get what I'm trying to say. Like, it's there's levels to this shit, and like, the dragon was the big bad for Bilbo, but for Frodo, destroying the ring and its rings of power. We talked about Saturn. If you didn't watch the original video where I I'm so sorry. I'm like going in and out of dimensions right now. But if you didn't watch the original video, and I'm also sleepy, if you didn't watch the original video where I talk about this, I would encourage you to go and watch the Cosmic Tea, where I download the energy of just the energy and messages around the Lionsgate portal for 2024, and also we do some energy work, and also I test out all of these yummy snacks I got at Tissot Mini in Chinatown. Some of them were yummier than others, and if you want to watch that and like snack with me while we talk about it, I think that's like high tea, you know what I mean? Like, that's the whole thing about like Cosmic Tea, and like I run an apothecary and intend to open an apothecary with a cafe in it, and yeah, I just think that that's like probably, yeah, something that we might do more of. If y'all like that, we'll do more mukbangs, which I just don't love that word, but yeah, anyway, whatever. So yeah, you are somebody who is like, you're even beyond Frodo level. You are like a primordial being. Some of you, a lot of you, well, a lot of you. I think the people who resonate with this pile, you know, you're a primordial being. 144,000. But yeah, so Frodo says like all the times that he wished he could go on an adventure, and now he's on an adventure and he can't wait for it to be over because he almost died like so many times. But he did save Middle Earth. Like, ultimately, Frodo carried. The thing about it, people are like, Sam is the real hero, Gollum is the real hero. Gollum is absolutely not a hero. Like, he is a psychopath. He's like lost his mind, barely like for the most part, has lost his humanity. The only reason that he ends up destroying the ring is because he bites Frodo's finger off so that he can have it for himself, and ends up landing in Mount Doom. But the point of that is because, like, Gandalf says multiple times in the books and in the movies, like, people are always like, Smeagol's, or what is his name? Gollum's so disgusting. We should just put him out of his misery. And Gandalf says multiple times, who are any of us to say, like, whether we should take a life if we can't even give a life? You know what I mean? And he says also, like, Gollum may have a bigger role to play in this yet when Gollum escapes. And yeah, it turns out he does play a huge role, because first of all, he, in the movies at least, he helps them get through the marshes. But then also, like, he destroys the ring. He's the one who destroys the ring. When Frodo, much like Isildur, is too taken by the power of the ring and he doesn't want to destroy it. And Sam is, like, crying, and it still gets destroyed anyway by its own power, destroys it, because, like, that lust for power, that obsession, this is very much Pluto energy. You might, like, have a lot of issues with people becoming obsessed with you. And I think that what you need to realize, especially with this Council of Light energy here, is you might really yeah, your blessings are hidden right now because we still have to get through this last veil. Your blessings are hidden right now. Some of your memories are hidden. Some of your powers are hidden. Like, you have been so many different ascended masters. You have been so many different... I'm so worried. I didn't wear a mask in the train because I forgot my masks at home. And my throat has been feeling, like, scratchy for a little while now. But, like, I'm so concerned that, like, I caught something in the train. Anyway, this also might be, you might be an Aquarius. You might be, like, a little space cadet. I can be such a space cadet as well. This pile's giving me Luna Lovegood because y'all are not from here. Like, you're not from here, bro. And you might also, like, you might be afraid of, like, creating connections and relationships with other people because you've been burned so many times in the past by people just, like, becoming insane over you. And it's because, you know, this book that I read by this lady called Naomi, it is about leveling up into your divine feminine. And she says people are gonna... It reminds me of something my sister said to me when I was, like, when I first moved to New York back in 2012. I was wearing, this was 2013 actually. I was wearing these big platform shoes. What was that brand called? I don't even remember. Why Are You, I think. We were all wearing these big platform shoes back in those days. And I was, like, telling my sister, I was, like, 18 years old. And I was telling her, like, people keep staring at me. And we were near Union Square. We were across the street from the Film Forum. I don't remember what we were doing there, but probably we were just meeting in the middle because she lived uptown and she lived in Columbus Circle and I lived at Brooklyn Bridge. And she was just like, you knew that when you wore this outfit outside today, that people were going to stare at you. Stop complaining about people staring at you. And ever since that day, I was just like, that's a fact. I wore this. I knew what I looked like. Like, I know I stand out. So, like, I should just accept it. You know what I mean? Instead of being, like, so concerned. August, this whole month of August, especially on the 19th, when we have the sun in Leo and the conjunct Mercury retrograde in Leo in the 3rd house, This is going to destabilize all of that programming and just like disintegrate it, dissolve it. Those veils of forgetfulness, those veils of density from descending down the mortal coil are going to be destroyed. This is some Mount Olympus type shit for real. And like dead ass, like you're gonna go into a completely different realm, basically. And I don't mean like, oh, I'm gonna go to a different planet altogether, I'm gonna get on a spaceship. No, that's not what I'm talking about. What I mean is when you are at a certain frequency, you don't find yourself around certain types of people. And even if they're like kind of floating around you, like you don't allow that energy to connect to you. You know what I mean? And people will also read that off of you. Like, definitely there are people who like just be on some problematic shit, and I am just like, I'm putting out the vibes. I'm not here for it. I see you're on some messy shit. I see you're on some toxic shit. I'm not here for it. So I'm gray rocking you. You know what I mean? Like, when you've already gone through the healing process to recognize somebody who is a threat to your stability and to your safety, you don't have to get all the way into a relationship. You barely even have to engage with people a lot of the time to be like, okay, nope. I'll tell you what. If you ever heard the song Soldier by Destiny's Child, exactly. And I grew up in the suburbs. Yes, I did. And girls from the suburbs always love a bad boy. Y'all know what I really want to say. Soldier by Destiny's Child, listen to it. But, you know, it's because like you want like, oh my God, like danger. If you've been sheltered a lot, same thing. You might like just get out of your like parent or your guardian's like grip and like go wild. You know what I mean? And that's natural, because if you've been like extremely sheltered and you get a little bit of freedom, of course you're gonna go in the very opposite direction. So a lot of the time, quote unquote, good girls, preacher's daughter type stuff, like will go for the bad boy, right? And the bad boy is also like, yeah, going for that too. Y'all, I'm really feeling these Persephone timelines. I'm definitely feeling this Pluto stuff. Pluto is retrograde at 0 degrees of Aquarius, which is also considered 30 degrees of Capricorn. Aquarius is in the 10th house, Capricorn is in the 9th house. I need oil of oregano because my throat is just like, it's not giving what it needs to give. I'm not fucking with this. Yeah. So I said that because one, I did go like hog wild once I got out of my mother's house, but honestly it was like senior year of high school. It may have actually been junior year and senior year is when I started like getting buck, because that's when I started we used to call it chiefing. That's when I started using I don't know what's gonna get censored on fucking YouTube, but I've said so many swear words. But that's when I started using bud at a regular rate and started like kind of partying. So it was even before then, but the more freedom that I got, the more that I just like acted out, because I grew up in a very repressed culture. I do feel like right now there's a lot of throat chakra clearing. I just had one of those little vitamin C packets. I can't afford to get sick. I probably can't afford to, like, financially, but also I just don't want to. Yeah. Woo. Spicy. Yeah, so excuse me. I feel like this is a very playful energy. The colors that I'm getting, and because I'm just like picking up a lot to do with like Andromeda, Lyra. Like I do feel like this is my like the first shall be last and the last shall be first pile. Like the meek shall inherit the earth. And Kitty Pryde, LOL, LOL, Kitty Pryde, 𝗂𝗃. Now she's like one half of the Pom Poms, but she just goes by Kitty online. On like streaming, but if you look her up on Instagram, Pom Poms, she has a song lyric where she goes, and I'll be meek enough to inherit the earth. And yeah, Lion Tribe, yeah, this is like my crystalline grid workers for sure. Just like I said, you're the crystallines, you might really identify with Mintaka as well in Orion. And you might identify with Anubis. You might identify with the Dogon tribe, the Nomo. Yeah, definitely go back and watch that first video because I think that it'll be really helpful for you. But I can put this mirror down because I was just using that to be able to like see the camera while I was recording my face in it. But the reason that I brought that up is because I used to like really love me a bad boy. I used to love me a little bad boy, and if I'd see one on the street I would just be like, oh my god. And of course they love me too, of course. But yeah, I used to love bad boys. And you know a bad boy when you see one because like the way that they're dressed, you know what I mean? Like they're coding themselves so that you can know that they're bad and that they're tough and like, oh, like, you know what I mean? And like, yeah, I ate that shit up. But now I'm not a teenager and I'm not in my early 20s, and I'm grown and like I want to like get married and start a family. And unfortunately, a lot of the time, bad boys are not the ones that you start a family with. You know what I mean? And you don't like merge your finances with the bad boy unless you are working out some trauma wounds around your self-worth and value. And like, I don't know if you like, what is it, like codependency basically, and like, oh, being the fixer and the nurturer and the caregiver. And I'm just like, fuck all that shit, bro. You're gonna take care of me first and foremost, because don't you understand that you're in the presence of a goddess? First of all. Second of all, if I'm like taking care of kids, how the fuck am I gonna take care of you? That's like some Tommy Lee and Pam Anderson type shit. And when I saw Pam Anderson's documentary, like I really, really resonated with it, because there was a moment where I was just like, when they like had their whirlwind romance and then like got married. I think they were in Hawaii. They may have been in like Cancun. I don't remember, but they got married after like a week, 3 weeks of knowing each other. They did not know each other that long. They hadn't even known each other for 6 months at that point. And they got married. And it was like the way that they are describing it is very torrid. But like, this is the thing. That's how you know that something is like love bombing and it's not real. And it's just like, you know, that's a summer romance. That's not fucking for life, you know, not in a sexual way, but like, that's not for life. You know what I mean? And like, yeah, this is like, I feel like this pile, like we would be great friends. I just get cotton candy vibes. I feel like you are like a little 𝗂𝗍𝗄 like me. And your energy is so buoyant and effervescent and fun, and I love it. Bubblegum, I'm getting like bubblegum as well. But yeah, like they got married and then like they had their first kid. People on the set of Baywatch already identified that like he was too controlling and he was a problem and they didn't want him on set, and she would have to like hide, like change the scenes that she was doing if she was supposed to kiss someone, if he was going to be on set. I don't remember. I think that her parents had a volatile and potentially violent relationship as well. Her dad was definitely an alcoholic and her mom obviously an Al-Anon, but yeah, I'm seeing 2234 on the screen. I'm seeing 1001 on the screen. So there's mirroring here, and there's also progression, definitely to like higher consciousness. Like you had to like level up in your consciousness for you to be able to access this new timeline. You know what I mean? It's like 2234. And we know 234 is a progression. It's being in alignment, but it's not 1, 2, 3, and it's not 11, 23. It's like you had to get to being 11. 11 is a master builder number, a master number, and then you had to get to 22 from 11 in order for you to get to 3, 4. You understand what I mean? We are going through the looking glass, and you are going to come into your abundance, but you had to learn these karmic lessons, not because of anything that you did in your past lives or even in this life. Like some of us, like this is our first time incarnating in a human body on earth. Like some of you, nobody who's incarnate on earth does not have past lives. Every single person who incarnates on earth has many past lives. You're not allowed to come to earth unless you have gone through past lives in other realms. So that's just number one, but not everybody has been a human on earth before. Which can be complicated, but it's actually not that complicated. Anyway, so I am seeing like golden retriever. I do feel like you might be like, you might identify with sirens as well. You might be a water elemental, but definitely as an ethereal being, I can see that being the case. You might have like had access to the earth realm, but as an ethereal being, you were not manifest as a like earthling. You were here and like you could still have been here, but the density that we're at this point in time, you would not be able to materialize, or you would not be able to like exist. Is exactly what I'm saying about like your wealth and your abundance, your spiritual prosperity. I just gave myself a pedicure and it's already like peeling, which is very annoying, but I'm new to it, so whatever. But yeah, so Tommy Lee and Pam Anderson, they have that like whirlwind affair, and I think that they get married. She's wearing like a bikini and they're like on the beach in like Cancun or something like that, and like it's so ridiculous because like obviously I know how it goes. Like he ends up trigger warning for DV. He ends up, when they have their second child and she's not giving him like all of her attention anymore, he hits her with the baby in her arms, and yeah, she leaves immediately after. Like immediately she's not get back together with him. But Pamela Anderson has had multiple relationships where she has had this like violence happen to her because her partners wanted to control her and like possess her. And I feel like this is something that might happen to you as well. That's what I was saying. And this is changing for you. That was like the codes of the old guard and the old earth, and that is no longer like the old guard, and that's not going to happen to you anymore. But part of that is because like this is also something that's like a code in your family, like your genetic, your gene pool, because I'm looking at this Four of Cups in reverse. These are for your blessings. This Four of Cups in reverse is telling me that, yes, that's one of your blessings, is that like that fucked up cesspool of fucked up genetics, that's gone for you. That's done. Like those codes, those cycles are over for you. And the only reason that you had those experiences in this life is because you manifested into these families, so that into this like gene pool, so that you could alchemize it, and so you could purify the waters of that gene pool. And if people are like, oh, you're karma in people's lives, like, because you are this purifying force, yeah, like people do end up showing you the worst aspects of their personality, and then they get judgment, call judgment, and they either get to ascend and do better, or they get to stay in old earth and be tortured. Sorry, don't know what else to tell you, and like suffer through the collapse that is imminent. And I can tell you, like, from the astrology that I've already pulled, as of the 31st, like the 31st of August through when the North Node is directly oppositional to Lilith in Libra on the 6th, like, this is gonna be like a crazy, intense, insane collapse of the structure in which we live, because this is the, like, I mean, cis-heteropatriarchy and everything built upon it, which it is an integral part of the imperial system. It doesn't exist on its own. These systems are inextricable. So everything built upon all of that. I talked about that. I don't know if I talked about it I know I talked about it in other piles, but I'm pretty sure I also talked about it in the Cosmic Tea. Everything that's built upon that is like going to come to a collapse. And you can go to @the Aetherium on Instagram and click on my saved stories. I don't know what that, like, highlights, that's what it's called. Highlights, you can go watch my highlights and you can go watch my highlights and watch the prophecies and see what I'm talking about. I don't really feel like getting into it because I just don't feel like that's necessary, because I know that this pile, you already know what I'm talking about. You had these prophecies too, and you know exactly. Look at this right here. These are the ovaries, and look at this on this card. This is about the divine feminine. I'm surprised that we don't have the Empress out on, like, we have that Priestess in reverse, but I'm surprised we don't have the Empress out. Fertility, abundance, like, you are coming into so much wealth because you fulfilled your mission. That's why you came to Earth. Like, you came to Earth to, those of us who are like chosen ones, like, many were called, few were chosen, and even fewer succeeded, and you succeeded. It's a fucked up life, you know, and we are subject to a lot of terrible things, witnessing and experiencing terrible things. I wouldn't wish it on anybody, quite frankly, and that's why we're here, so that nobody has to go through this kind of stuff anymore. We came here to expose it. So you want to look at Saturn, where Saturn is in your chart. On the chart of the 8-8 portal, it's at 18 degrees of Pisces in the 11th house, and Neptune is also in the 11th house at 29 degrees, and they are both retrograde. So all of the spell work and demonic witchcraft and the abuse of sacred powers that has been going on is under judgment, and it is like they have been judged guilty. Like, you obviously, you know, you had to go through the trial and the justice process spiritually, but obviously they found that you were not guilty, and justice is imminent for you. I know that that's something that you need to hear. You need to hear that. But all of this stuff, that what was done in the dark comes to light. What was done in the dark, you really would be well advised to subscribe to the premium tier of my Substack newsletter called The Channel. The premium tier is called The Mysteries. We do a weekly and monthly newsletter where I deep dive into the esoterics, and it is on a basis of astrology, but we get the cosmic tea and we get into the esoterics. I include like images from my book of shadows, so things that I've downloaded over the past. I mean, I've been keeping a book of shadows. I've always kept a journal ever since I was a very young child, but specifically keeping a book of shadows since I was 18, so for the past 12 years. I would even say like earlier than that though, like I would even say 17. But yeah, so I share stuff from my book of shadows that I've downloaded, and right now part of what we're doing, it just happens when it happens, but I have been decoding the grimoire that is the Bible, and specifically like Christ Yeshua's teachings, and decoding it, because yes, all like most grimoires are written in code, and like most magical like information is usually coded, but it has lobster energy, the Bible, because it's like some truth in lies and some lies in truth. So it can be very confusing and convoluted, and that is on purpose. It can be very labyrinthine. And if you're somebody who is a crystalline, you might identify with Christ consciousness. And I think, honestly, this is why you'll see people who are like, I was Jesus Christ, I was Mary Magdalene. No, you weren't, actually. You are a crystalline, or you might be one of their soul group, but you are not them, usually. But unfortunately, those people don't understand these things, and usually they're experiencing spiritual psychosis like 𝗂𝗪. And unfortunately, she's like also like had a lot of like MMG, like MKU programming, and experienced like ritual satanic abuse through sexual abuse. So I mean, there's a reason. Everything makes sense and everything adds up, you know? You may have gone through that. I think I may have even said that already, that like I sensed that you may have experienced those things, because like control-oriented beings are very attracted to you. So you attract vampires, you attract people with personality disorders, because they're coming to you for healing. They are, I want to say, bereft of soul, of spirit, of sunlight. They might be of a fallen lineage. They might be fallen. They may have sold their soul, or they're just choosing to turn it off, because you can do that. People can do that. They can turn off their humanity. And unfortunately, like I said, many were called, few were chosen, and even fewer succeeded. A lot of chosen ones lost rank in this past season because they betrayed their calling, and they turned off their humanity, and they chose wickedness over righteousness. And you probably have friends who did that. But going back to what I was saying, when I was watching that Pam Anderson documentary, there was a point where they were like in their like little whirlwind romance, and I was just like, I want that. And I was like, this is why you're fucking sick, bro. Like, this is what's wrong with you. Like, what? yeah. I've done a lot of healing, and obviously like that documentary came out last year, but a lot of healing can happen in a year. Tell you that much. Especially when you're actually committed. And well, I mean, I've spent thousands of dollars on my healing in fucking working with like shamans and healers and like my EFT clinician and like getting services from other healers alone. But guess what? It works. And that's why we're making it through, because we've invested in our liberation and in our freedom, whereas others have not. So what you need to know is, yeah, like now if I saw a guy who looked like Tommy Lee, yeah, like is like attractive. But of course, as a kid, I think I was saying this too, I didn't like just get to be 18 and be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go crazy. Like I had wanted to be a rock star ever since I was a little kid. Ever since I was a little kid, I wanted to be a rock star. In elementary school, like I saw people on True Hollywood Stories and like VH1, and I was like, that's what I want to be. And I even wanted, trigger warning for substance abuse, I wanted to like abuse substances. I wanted to live that hard party like rock star lifestyle. Just like Gucci Mane said, rock star lifestyle, Mike don't make it. Living life every day, click faded, I'm so wasted, she's so wasted. That's and I'm also a millennial, and that's like a lot of the coding that we had. And that's why after like the indie sleaze moment, minimalism and wellness became like such a huge deal. Like booming health goth, I think, is actually the thing that like hinged those cultures. But that's why those like kind of it was a corollary, you know, wellness and minimalism were a corollary to indie sleaze, because so many millennials after especially after Amy Winehouse died, but yeah, just like so many millennials started getting older and started getting sober, because like, yeah, like a lot of hot messery and hot fuckery, let me tell you. But yeah, now I look at like, I always wanted to be a rock star. And like from 6th grade, when I first read Nana for the first time in the first issue of Shoujo Beat, I was like, that is my aesthetic, this is my vibe. And I was off to the races. And I just like, when I was 18, I was one of those and 17, little Lana Del Rey bimbo. This is that MKU programming that I was talking about, though. This is the Lolita programming, the Beta Kitten programming. Beta Kitten, Lionsgate portal. Like I said, none of this is an accident. None of this is by mistake. This is all by design, right? But yeah, that's the type of shit that I was on for sure. Dating much older men, dating bad boys. Not like my first proper partner or like boyfriend was not a bad boy. He was a fucking nerd. But he still very much was like this Plutonian archetype. And then like the second person I dated really was a bad, like in a relationship, he was bad. And then the third guy, I already talked about him. He's an idiot. He was also bad. But if I think about it, like they were all bad in their own way. The first real relationship that I was in, like he was not as bad as the rest of them, but he definitely had this like Pluto archetype of him. It's like, I was 19, he was 28 years old. And it wasn't like, oh, like I'm about to turn 20. Like I was 19 for a while. I turned 20 when we were together, but we'd already been dating for a long time, on again, off again type shit, by the time I turned 20. So he had his own issues, you know? And that's abuse of power. And that has to do with Pluto. And like I said, power structures are written into tradition and like systems of operation. That is what has to do with Capricorn specifically, but also Aquarius. And we know that Pluto is retrograde right at 0 degrees / 30 degrees, right in between those two. It is making a grand trine to Uranus in the first house in the sign of Taurus, and the moon at 25 degrees Virgo in the 5th house. Whew. Well, it's already, as I'm recording this and it is already like Lionsgate, but yay, finally, oh my god, like finally, expect the unexpected and expect it to come through the 19th. Like, these blessings are going to be like pouring in. This is going to be crazy, but you're going to be set up by the time that this Libra conjunction, the Libra conjunction with Lilith, South Node, Moon, Venus, once that hits, you're already going to be like good. You feel me? But so this is about taking back our personal power from the ways in which we have been programmed to disempower ourselves. And you had to go through this to overcome it and to heal and to raise the planetary, like we have actively been raising the planetary vibration. Star seeds. The sun is a star. So these like codes. And if you identify as a star seed, then that story that I told from the Legendarium, it should feel very resonant for you. You also might feel like you are a Pleiadian. So you might really struggle with self-sovereignty because there are false codes and false narratives out of the Pleiades that we're supposed to like be so like compassionate and empathetic. But like, remember, the children of Anu are from the Pleiades. And we're not actually, like, yes, you should be empathetic, but that doesn't mean like you're supposed to call judgment, which is to be like, okay, this is not okay. Like, I understand why you did what you did, but that doesn't mean it's okay, you know? What we're letting go, work, get tested. Yeah, you're letting go of like, oh, I love this energy. Okay, letting go of like all these karmic tests you already passed, period. You already passed. Work. Like, you're not gonna have to work so hard. You were never meant to work this hard. Like, but you had to go through what you had to go through in order to get here, in order to pass your mission. And look, they threw everything that they could at you. These like vampires are attracted to you. These demonic energies, entities, and expressions of existence, shaitan, are attracted to you because they want healing. They don't have souls of their own. Soul is sun. You have star power within you to give life. They do not. They are the living dead. And I'm not talking zombies like the whites from Game of Thrones. I'm talking the White Walkers. Not their zombie army, but the programmers, like the actual higher ranking ones. And let me tell you something, like, if you don't think that shit is real, I'm not talking to a group of people who don't believe that shit is real. You feel me? Like, I know that you all know that this is real, and I'm here to validate and confirm for you that it is. But if you're watching this pile, like, you're not at Frodo level anymore. You're at Silmarillion level. Like, you already believe your own hype. And it really has been about you, like, coming into your sovereignty and standing in it, because I would recommend to go back and watch my video from spring equinox 2023, and I talk about like waiting at the gate of heaven and like how that's where we experience so many attacks, and we are purging as we cross through, because it's not just like, oh, the gate's gonna open, I'm gonna walk in. No, like, we are passing over that threshold. That's that Piscean energy. Like, we are passing through the threshold. We are experiencing reverse osmosis as we transcend through the membrane and like the shadow, the density, it has to be left behind. And this is why if you can't let go of the past, you can't go forward. I don't feel like this is a problem for your pile, but certainly for pile 1, that was a thing. It may have been pile 2, but it was pile 1. It was pile 1 and pile 2. That was a thing. But you already passed that test, and you're not going to have to do that anymore. You're not going to have to deal with that. Like, I have a friend who, this is a member of our community, and, you know, she is, she's 7 years younger than me. And so she still has to go through the experiences, I guess, that, like, one goes through to find oneself, just those developmental experiences, because you can know, in my culture we say, oh, like, you know book. You can know book as much as you want. You can know, like, something intellectually, but until it's embodied, like, it's not real. You know what I mean? And so even though she knows all of this stuff and, like, believes it, she still will say things like, you know, she'll just talk down on herself and, like, invalidate herself in, like, these little subversive ways of, like, I know it's fucked up, and I'm just like, no, it's not fucked up. Like, that's what it is, and it's true. You know what I mean? Like, talk your shit, bro. Like, if you know you earned your stripes, you earned your stripes. And you don't see, who can I give as an example? I'll say Rihanna. You don't see, if somebody were like, oh, who does she think she is? Rihanna would be like, I'm Rihanna. You know what I mean? Like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Because she's Rihanna, and everybody knows what that means. So if someone's like, hey, I can't believe that who does she think she is? Who do you think you are? You know what I mean? Like, you're supposed to be this high-ranking, like, God body, like, earth angel, like, ethereal being, deity, what have you, and you're just, like, allowing other people's insecurities at your power to control you? No. And you're not going to get through the membrane, you're not going to get through the threshold unless you let that go. We have been talking for a really long time, and we're not even all the way through the cards, so let's just keep moving, because this is what you're letting go. Hard work, all that shit, it's just like, it's done. You passed, and I'm so proud of you, because, like, yeah, like, standing on business is not easy. When people are testing you and trying you, and it's just like, can this already be over? And you're like, I'm done with this cycle. Like, I'm not doing this shit anymore. Like, why do I still have to keep going through this over and over again? That's just the way that it had to play out. And, like, it's written in the stars. You know what I mean? Like, this is why astrology is such an important part of my practice, because, like, I need to be able to look at the chart and know what's happening cosmically so that I don't fucking lose my mind, you know? But so what's coming in? Ace of Cups, the World card. I mean, do I really need to even explain it? Yo, what are we letting go? Work, get tested. What's coming in? The Ace of Cups, the World. Like, look how these mirror one another. Ugh, this energy. Oh my God. And we deserve it. Also, what's coming in is, like I said, memories that were lost as you, like, as more and more layers of density were put upon you through trauma. And honestly, just the density of the planet. Okay, so I'm gonna layer these up on top of one another. Prince of Wands, girl, come on. Prince of Wands, for how can we be of service to the blessings? Do it to it. You know the world be rocking to it, so do it. Bounce with it, rock with it, lean. Wait. Pop with it, lean with it, rock with it. All my ladies, you're back with it. Do it. You know I feel like you just need to have fun and be yourself and do your thing. Like, don't even worry about it. Do not worry about anybody else. Like, I do sense, like, I was saying in the beginning that I sensed, like, haters and monitoring spirits and shit. And like energy, when I focused on like the energy, that just went away. So just focus on being true to your, like, look at this, the sun behind his head. He knows who he is. Look, I can't make this up. Like, y'all saw me shuffle in the original video in the cosmic tea. So like, you know, I didn't put all this stuff together. And the lapis lazuli, like, I shuffled all of this, okay? Like, y'all saw it happen. So you gotta go forth with that energy, with that power, with that like oomph, and know who you are. And if other people don't like it, who cares? The people that you're supposed to like learn to teach them to be themselves unapologetically and not let other people shame them and like put them down and like what have you, get stuck in these misery loves company, some crab in a barrel type shit. Like, those kinds of people, fuck them, honestly. Like, and the people that you're supposed to be helping to get out of that need to see you shine and be the best version of yourself. The adversary cannot come where you're going. And some people are still attached to the adversary, and that's why they can't come. They have to make the free will decision to let go of that energy. Are they going to? Maybe. But that's none of your business. You can't control that. You know that though. By now you already know that. So look at Virgo in your chart. Look at Pisces in your chart. And Venus is... Neptune is a higher vibration of Venus, and Venus is right now in Virgo, so it's in detriment in there. So I do feel like some of us have been experiencing money issues, but I do feel that like as August might be tough, as we like, but for y'all, I don't even think that's going to be a problem, to be honest. Like, I feel like the way that this Venus Virgo is going to happen is like, these people that like these relationships rather, because you're like, you already decided who you are, you're standing on business, like that's where there are going to be issues. You're not being nice anymore. That's really what it comes down to. You're not playing games. You're not like that, like toxic feminine, fawning, passive aggression. This came up in the last pile as well, where that was a trauma response. Like, you're not playing that shit anymore because you recognize that it's not helpful to you. I really feel like if you were to watch pile 2, you would be like, oh yeah, that's how I used to be. And I'll just finish this thought. I definitely was attracted to a Tommy Lee type of guy, but like, I'm not making the Pamela Anderson mistake of like marrying like 6 different guys who all turn out to be just a different version of the same guy. And look at her, she's this like beauty, you know what I mean? Very much MKU, like beta kitten stuff, but like babe, total babe, right? And she keeps getting stuck in this cycle. This is the Pluto Persephone or Proserpina timeline. You may have that kind of stuff, but you've been doing the work to heal from that. And I just encourage you to keep on doing the work. And you now know like that you don't choose like that kind of person. You don't let them into your life. Like, you know, you don't go to the places that they go anymore. I'll say it like this, actually. Like, somebody was like, I was explaining to somebody, like, because I know the body that I am in and the kind of violence that is exacted upon the kind of body that I live in, because I've experienced it, I don't do things that I know actively put me in danger. I don't go out at night by myself. If there's a party that I really want to go to and none of my friends will go with me or are available to go with me, I'm not going. There's always going to be another party. I'm not going, period. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sober, so the kinds of things that have happened to me, like, they don't happen. And those kinds of things can happen whether or not you're sober, you know what I mean? But even though like those things are not my fault, like I'm not helping myself to stay safe in a world that I know is dangerous because I feel entitled to those things not happening to me when I don't try to keep myself safe. You know what I mean? So I can't be out here like getting wasted and like blackout because I need to keep my wits about me to keep me safe. Do I think that's fair? No, but that is reality, and I choose to live in reality, you know? Like other things, I don't go to places that I know like my ops hang out. I don't go to places, like I'm not going to a dive bar. What am I gonna do there? I'm not gonna meet the love of my life in a dive bar. Let's just be serious. Because I know what I want out of a partner, and it's likely someone who, like, I personally would prefer to be with somebody who's sober as well. But like, it's just, I'm not going to find them in a dive bar because I don't belong in a dive bar anymore. You know, I'm a completely different person. You've gone through the rebirth is what I'm hearing. And it's just a matter of the material world catching up to what has already happened in spirit. Like everybody can feel your power on you. And, that's intimidating to some people, that they can't manipulate you, that they can't pull one over on you, that they can't like get one by you. You know what I mean? That's, of course it's intimidating to people, but who gives a shit? I've said this in readings before. The lion does not worry about the opinions of the sheep. And I'll say it this way. The shepherd doesn't worry about the opinions of the sheep. If the sheep are like, bleep, 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 no, we want to go eat in this field because we like that grass better. But the shepherd knows that there are coyotes in that field. The shepherd doesn't go, oh, okay, well, I guess I'll take you there because that's what you want. No, that's not the shepherd's job. The shepherd's job is to keep them safe. And in fact, they got to be pretty tough and strong if they're going to fight off wolves and coyotes. Y'all think being a shepherd is a game. It is not a game. I'm remembering this meme that I saw. This person was like, what was the time that your pet did something wrong? And they were like, my dog shepherded a bunch of sheep into the ocean. And they just disappeared, never to be seen again. My grandfather was really mad. No, people, a fool follows. A fool would follow. I mean, a sheep. Sheeps are they're essentially a fool compared to a shepherd. Like, they have a complete lower sentience than a shepherd. And yeah, if a sheep were smarter, it probably wouldn't have followed the dog into the ocean and been taken out to sea. I'm not trying to be mean. This is just true. We have to accept this. But I feel like whoever I'm talking to, you already know this. It's just true. You know, you don't expect... If you expect a kindergartner to be able to drive a race car, then you're the idiot. Okay? And if you're going to listen to how to drive a race car from a kindergartner, you're also an idiot. All right? Work with your hands. You're about to get, for your blessings, you're about to get paid for all of that hard work that you put in, baby. You got to do what you've been being guided to do. It's blessings. The change from the transformation that you went through. You walked through the fire. Yo, this pile, y'all are some fucking G's, bro. Y'all walked, look at this card. You walked through the fire. I'm hearing the song Through the Wire. To the limit, to the... I don't know the words, actually. Let's tell you what it is. through the wire, through the limit, through the wall. If I had a chance to be with you, I'd gladly risk it all. I don't know why they don't have the sample lyrics anyways. Through the wire sample. Chaka Khan's Through the Fire. All right, perfect, exactly. Through the fire, through the limit, through the to the limit, to the wall. For a chance to be with you, I'd gladly risk it all. So some of you, I think, are gonna come into union finally because you have balanced your own energies. This is what I've been talking about, equanimity, equilibrium. You have balanced your own energies within yourself. You have brought equilibrium to this like earth realm, and you are about to receive the benefits of everything that you have been doing. Like the false matrix, it's a fucking wrap. It's done. All these fucking what is the word I want to use, chismosas, who were fucking gossiping about you, talking shit about you, trying to make it seem like you really were not about nothing, when really they just couldn't see the vision. They're about to shut the fuck up. They're about to have their mouths closed permanently. Their jaws are gonna drop. This is what I'm saying, bro. Your ops, these people, these monitoring spirits, like, they're watching so hard. They're about to, like, dead ass, I'm hearing some of these people are gonna be so triggered by your success that they're just gonna not be able to deal with it. I'm just gonna put it like that. I don't think they're gonna make it through. These next few seasons, I really don't. I wouldn't be surprised if you see their names in the obits, TBH. And I've thought about this, of the people who have, like, seriously done me harm, like black magic, like tried to have me killed. And if someone were able to reach me to let me know that they died, I would not respond and I would not go. And probably those people would be like, that's so fucked up. But if they knew what I knew, they would not think that. Let's just put it that way. And that's what I'm trying to tell you as well. Like, the old guard is dead. What do they say? The queen's dead, long live the queen. Fuck that. The fucking, like, if you know, you know. But the false matrix, you know. If you've been following the Aetherium for a while, this is what it is. This is what I was talking about with the Libra conjunction, and it's a several day conjunction actually in September. It happens over time. And it's kind of low key. You really might not see any like pop astrologers talking about this. I definitely feel like it's going to be the more esoteric astrologers, because the chart that the system that I used did not alert me to this. When I was pulling the insights, I was like, why do I feel this like just like edgy iconoclastic energy of just wanting to act out? And so when I was looking at the chart, I was like, dude, what the fuck? Like, Lilith and the South Node are conjunct, and I didn't see that in like the breakdown that I use. I saw it when I was looking at the chart, and so I had to run it back and like put all this shit, like go through all this shit and like follow through the different charts. And when I do that, like especially when I'm trying to figure out a grand trine, how long a triangulation is lasting, how long, whether it's a grand trine or like some other type of trine, I have to like do all of this stuff to like progress it 6 hours, or progress it 12 hours. Okay, progress it back 6 hours. Okay, progress it back up 3 hours. Okay, progress it back 1 hour, 2 hours. Okay, progress it. You know, like I have to find the exact time that something happens. And so it's like, you might not hear about this from pop astrologers, is what I'm trying to say. And that's why you should subscribe to the mysteries. But I think that this is really beautiful. All this forward motion that you have, like, you've built up so much momentum. It's like as if you were on a bike and you were just like pedaling. This is what I've been talking about. Like having to vibrate so fast to be able to break free from the old energy and like make a state change, like how atoms have to, or molecules have to. But that's also like a rocket has to be moving so fast that like to be able to like burst through the atmosphere. Otherwise it's not going to be able to. That's the same kind of principle. So you have been generating so much energy, but you haven't seen it materialized in the 3D because it is what is like shine bright like a diamond, bro. Like this is what is making you shine bright. I'm looking at this in the unseen realms, and this is what's carrying you through this portal. And this is like the blessings that are coming to you is finally the materialization, because you're moving into like a frequency where you can have that materialization. And also I just want to warn you that you might be developing new gifts and abilities where you might be able to see energies and entities. And the reason that like you weren't able to see them before is because it was just like, you may have had to have like some of your powers sealed off because it wasn't safe for you. Look at this Priestess card. This is exactly what I'm talking about, bro. Exactly. Yo, I don't even have the words, but I feel like y'all understand. You're coming into divine union. Y'all already know what I said. The divine counterpart is not just a romantic partner. It's like your whole entire life is about to change. You're about to go where you never been before, bro. Where you never been. You may have been a lot of places. I've been a lot of places. I've been a lot of places that most people will never go. And this is like, you're about to, I'll even say I still haven't been to like, there's a lot more that I could do. Okay. This infinity, because 888, it's all this infinity. It's actually, like I said, it's like, usually it's 88, but this time, because 2024 equals 8, it's 888. And then when I added those all together, when I multiplied those, because I heard 8 to the power of 3, I got 512, which boils down to 8. So that's 4 8s, and 8 to the power of 4 is 4096, which comes down to the number 1. It actually comes down to 10, which comes down to 1. So endings and new beginnings. I love you all so much. I'm so happy. I am like, I don't even have like, I cannot like, let me slow down so I can like try and find the words to like try and convey this to you. But like, I think that like if you have clairvoyance, you can probably see like what I'm seeing, and like in your mind's eye and your spiritual vision. I just feel like you are just like you set yourself free, and I'm so proud of you. I love you all truly and deeply. I hope that this was helpful. Oh my goodness. So I've been pulling a card from my Lightworkers Oracle by Alana Fairchild for everybody. So y'all got like one extra free card, and also pretty much all of the piles were over an hour or at least an hour. So 1111 messages in the numbers, yo. Weren't we just talking about the numbers? And we were talking about 11 as well, past life activation. The heart transmission, crystal heart. Go back and watch if you didn't already. Seventh ray of ritual, order and ceremony, and paradigm shift, cosmic heart, Christ, reassurance of the golden light. So those are your cards. I hope that this has been helpful. I will see you on the flip side. Have a blessed Lionsgate. And for this pile, if you want to leave like a lion, a crown, and a white heart or a dove, let me choose one. A lion, a crown, and a 𝗍𝗏, aka an evil eye, in the comments, so that I know who y'all are. Y'all are my people. Y'all are my folks. Leave that. And also, I can definitely tell, like, there is such thing as code switching, but I think that also we are multifaceted people, and different parts of, like, I express different parts of myself differently when I'm tapping into different aspects of my energy, and that's not always code switching. And the most me versions of myself that I know, like, and I get so giddy when those parts of me express, because, like, I know that those are, like, the true authentic version of me. Those parts of me have come out so much in this reading, and I love that, because I feel like it tells me that, one, you are an authentic person who's really gotten comfortable with yourself enough for someone like myself, who has had to heal from a lot of betrayal and trust issues and wounding and stuff like that, can feel safe in your energy. I definitely feel like you have done a lot of work, and I think that's inspiring, and I'm sending you a lot of love and a lot of light, and yeah, we'll see you on the flip side. Oh yeah, okay, so a lion, a crown, and a 𝗍𝗏. Okay, peace.